States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Comments from the assembly? Okay, you have your correspondence in front of you. March 22nd minutes.
Nobody has any questions or concerns, I make a motion to adopt it. Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
March 22nd, actually, that was March 8th.
First one was March 8th.
Okay. March 22nd workshop.
Make a motion to accept
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Treasurer's report.
We have Diana on Zoom. Hi, Diana.
Hey, everybody.
Hello. Here.
Any questions on the treasurer report? We got some decent, so we got our real estate taxes in this, starting to come in this month. And quarterly, we should be getting some good money for that.
So what did she say? I'm sorry.
We got our real estate tax coming in.
And well,
Quarterlies.
okay.
I apologize, but it's so muffled, I can't.
I make a motion to accept the treasurer's report. Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, credit card transactions. So we checked into credit cards, and she has the rates there on the next,
Yeah, there's an updated one that came in just a little bit ago.
okay, so how far off are they? I mean, they're similar?
There is a fee. Diana, can you explain the most recent update about the credit card transactions? Was it a $49 one-time fee?
Sure, so what that is, I spoke with Judith this afternoon, and, the $49 is for the device, okay? As many as you need, and Joan, I'm not sure, but I was thinking, you were thinking you only needed a couple of them. But they're brand new devices, that's why he said they used to give one free and then you had to buy the rest of them if you needed them. But because they're all updated, now they accept they're Bluetooth connected, and they will attach to any smartphone or tablet. They can accept magnetic strip, the chip cards, and even have contactless pay, which, you know, if you're familiar with that, it's like your Apple. You just take your card and touch it, or I think actually your phone, I think, and touch it. I don't use it, so I'm not sure how it works. So there's a $49 fee per the unit. So however many readers that you need, that would be the fee. And I did ask him how long they're good for, like they don't become obsolete in 1 year, so we have to go and buy new ones. He said, no, they're good. He said they still have readers from 10 years ago. And so they obviously anticipate these will last that long. The fee for the merchant services is really a great fee. So there's two options. There's a month, if you go with the monthly, you pay $16 a month. Then your swipe or the contactless or the chip would be 1.5%, which is really an awesome rate. And then the other option you have is no monthly fee, but your rate is 2.2%. So obviously that's a kind of a no-brainer to go with the monthly fee. And he said that it's not a contract. So if we went with the monthly fee, the month of the carnival, and we could then cancel it, so then it would be pay as you go, which means for some reason, maybe in October, you needed to accept a credit card, then you would be paying the 2.2%. But as long as you pay the $16 for the month of the carnival, it's 1.5 and then there is a 25-cent transaction fee, which is the same thing as Stripe has that as well. And it also will connect with the QuickBooks desktop, so it's pretty much seamless. It goes into your bank account and then also downloads into your QuickBooks. So that's how it would work if you go with Intuit Merchant Services.
Okay, and that $16 was per machine or per our account?
It's just $16. It's just for the merchant service monthly fee.
Okay. Did you?
But now, what device would we put that on? I could
A
put it on
phone, a
I could
laptop?
put it on my personal phone, and that's acceptable.
Yeah, because the fees aren't going into your phone.
You
they're
can
going into
put the devices on any smartphone, he said, any smartphone or smart tablet.
Well, I didn't know if you guys wanted to keep it all township related, because that was one of the issues in the past. We couldn't use any personal stuff.
Well, the money goes right to the township account.
Okay, but so it would have to go through, it's okay to put it on a personal phone, that's all I'm saying.
I would think so,
Well,
we
no,
have to
because
double
you're
check.
getting a device where they swipe, your phone is just the messenger.
I get that, but I'm just saying, is that gonna be a problem, because when we talked about getting it before, we didn't wanna do anything that wasn't township related, like, cause Shannon used to use her phone and she had one, and you guys didn't want that, so that's why I suggested getting one through the
Well,
township.
we can't have that, if we got caught doing that, and then she transfers money to the township, that's a big problem. But we can either, well, we have issued phones, right, do we have any extra? No, we have no township phones, but we have the laptops.
Or if we get a pad or something, we could do that.
But how many people sell tickets?
Well, I'm thinking we get one. Like, she's talking like during the month of the carnival or whatever, that's linked to the carnival account. After that, you can keep it here and people can pay with a credit card at the office window, correct?
I think so, right, Diane? Well, you'd pay the $16 monthly fee, she's saying after the carnival.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, so for during the
I don't know
carnival, we
if
get
we
it switched
would.
to the carnival account, but then,
So if you keep the monthly fee, again, it's 1.5%, which is like really a great percentage on your transactions. You don't have to keep the fee. Like I said, the $16 is to give you the 1.5. If you don't pay the $16 a month, then your fee is 2.2. But
Right,
again, it's no contract, so he said he would suggest is do the $16 for the month of the carnival, and then take it off of the monthly, and then just do the pay as you go. You don't have to, you can keep the $16 a month. If you think that you're going to have residents that would be paying by credit card, then it would be worth it, I would think, just to do the $16 a month.
okay, how easy is it to switch bank accounts, is what I think your question
Right.
is. Can we switch it from the carnival account where the money goes? Once they're done with it, then we switch it over to another account in the office? Would we?
That'd be two separate
Yeah.
machines.
I can't say for sure how easy it is, but I can't imagine that you wouldn't. As a matter of fact, I know you can, because I use credit cards in my business. and we actually switched bank accounts.
Yeah, it should
So
be a simple
it's
1 minute.
not an issue at
transaction,
all,
change
as a
the
matter of
account,
fact.
and it's done. So yes,
I mean,
so,
I say we go with one and try it. If we need more than one, then we get another one down the road.
right, and then if you start
Well, it
taking
doesn't
credit cards,
cost you
you're keeping
anymore
it
to
at
have more
$16 fee.
Right.
Cause that 1.5%, you're not gonna find anywhere. 2.6 was the cheapest I could find anywhere.
How many people come
Okay.
into the office and try to pay with a credit card?
Everyone asks if it's.
Yeah, so I mean, that way you
Right.
can have it there and you can
And
pay
you
with a
wouldn't have to
card.
go to the bank anymore, which is nice.
We could keep the credit card there and just pay the 16, or the reader there and
That's
just
what
pay
I'm
the
saying.
$16,
If
yeah.
she uses a lot, we'll keep the 16 on to get the 1.5.
sense.
And maybe we just get a pad or something just for that.
Yeah. Okay, so, but we need to move on this tonight because the carnival's coming up. You wanna have these ahead of time.
He actually did suggest that if you're going to go with it, we need to get the contract going, or the paperwork going for it, because he said you've got delivery of the devices, they'll be coming from Arizona. He just said, and then he said they also will do training, and some testing, so to make sure that it works. So he did suggest, he asked when the carnival was, I couldn't remember if it was June or July.
Yeah, it's June.
Okay, you guys okay with getting?
It's in June, yeah, so definitely you would want to,
I'll say.
if you're going to move on that, then, if you do, then I'll get right on that.
And then one for in here.
No, 2 for the carnival.
Use the carnival?
Okay, so,
Well, get two.
I think-
We have, we don't really need one, but if, to keep one in the office, we can have one, even Parks and Rec have something going on, they can put it in
right,
Parks
so
and Rec.
we should get 2, and then we'll use them for the carnival, and then after the carnival's over, then we can always switch one to Park and Rec, you know what I mean? Switch them around so they can be used, but put the main one in the office, and that one doesn't get touched until carnival again.
We pay our
Yes, yes.
taxes that way.
I'm
We
sorry,
pay our
what?
taxes with that, with like a card.
I
at the
doubt
office?
it, unless you
Okay.
just wanna pay the extra fees.
Just,
and-
okay.
Yeah,
probably
we'll
not.
keep that status quo, and that's the tax lady, she would, that's her,
Okay.
yes.
They won't let me take
That was my point, I don't know that we need to do the $16 a month even for them, because we charge extra anybody who wants to use credit card for the band.
Yeah, we put that fee right
So,
on.
just so you
Yeah, I mean,
know,
that's up to you guys, I mean, I don't
Say
know how
no.
you get
Well,
that.
there's a 25-cent fee for us, I mean, we would put that on whoever decided to use a card.
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
Well,
the
it
whatever
would
percentage
charges
that
there
there's
are.
a
It would be
percentage,
2.66%, and then it'll be 25 cents on top of that transaction, just that one
which
transaction.
which is what we charged when it was on her.
Right,
Okay,
right,
so you
whatever it
guys did
is, it
that.
doesn't cost anything, right?
So then we don't have to do the month, I mean, that's your call, I don't use them with you guys, I don't know how.
But if people are gonna come in, unless you're gonna charge them additionally to
Well,
use it.
we're gonna have I say the office posts a 3% clerical fee for credit card use, because the clerical fee is coming for her to have to reconcile the credit card, make sure it comes through, check the deposits, I mean,
And that's normal,
that's
that's
no
normal, we
standard.
pay that
Yeah.
Yes.
at the shore.
And I have
or
it
shore
posted
house.
that it's a clerical fee, it's not a reimbursement, it's a
And
clerical
you
fee.
already programmed in the machine?
Yeah.
I think you can program them in.
Yeah, just like QuickBooks, that can be put in as
Okay.
an additional 3, so it's,
So everything you do, it automatically throw that right on top.
you'll
It's
throw the
clerical fee.
6% sales tax and then 3% additional on everything you sell.
But did you wanna do the $16 plan for the month
I'm
of the
thinking they're
carnival?
saying
And
no.
then switch over, cause you can switch back and forth, it sounds like.
You
Yeah,
can still put the clerical fee on and get the lower interest rate. That's up to you.
Whatever.
I think that while we're entering into this, if we get a couple extra readers, it can't be a bad thing.
right.
That's what we are.
Yeah, we're gonna go with 2, because we have to pay for them, it's $49 a piece. It's cheap, because I
I
paid
misunderstood, I
I
thought
paid
that the
over
readers are
$100 for
free,
my reader.
that you only pay one $49 fee, and you get as many readers as you want.
No,
That's it,
it's
okay.
per,
Per.
Understand?
so, 2?
Make a
I would
motion
say
to get
two.
two.
So we do.
And what are we gonna do? We're gonna do the $16 a month, or are we gonna do the 266?
And you guys have to do the work, so decide what's easiest.
Well, I mean, if it's cheaper to go to 16 and the 1%, we'll go that, and we'll still do our clerical fee on it.
What clerical fee did you say?
3%.
It's 3% standard, because most cards are 2.66%.
Yeah.
And then, so Diana, I guess we'll Since they made the motion second, I think
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
we can get the paperwork then, and
For two.
for two, they want two readers,
Paul and Keith.
At the
Okay.
$16
All right.
a month.
Sounds good.
$16 a month is what they went with.
We'll start with that, then we can take it.
They want the $16 a month?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and two readers. All right, I will get on this immediately.
Okay, then we have payroll bills to be paid, transfers needed.
Well, so Diana, what are we looking for as far as transfers? I know we have payroll this week and then bills to be paid, and I think the savings, the general savings, there's plenty in there that we'll have to transfer into the checking, right?
That is correct. We did get some money in, today. I was on, the account today. So for the bills, I feel like we only need to transfer $75,000. Yesterday, I was thinking, 100,000, but since we've gotten some more money in today, 75 is sufficient. Payroll, I have not done that yet, because, as you know, I didn't get that till later this afternoon, so it doesn't need to be submitted until tomorrow, so I wanted to get other things, done. But the payroll will be basically the same as it was last month, which was 50,000. The difference with, this week also though, is I am paying the quarterlies for the Keystone earned income taxes and the, unemployment compensation, they're quarterly payroll taxes, so they're gonna be paid, tomorrow, and they are, they equal $11,587, so I'll be transferring that. So the total transfer for the payroll will be about $62,000 for the payroll.
Okay, we have a motion to make the transfers for payroll and, 75,000 for the bills and 50,000 for the payroll.
63,000 payroll.
It's 62 with
62 with the taxes.
taxes.
Why do we have to pay that? It doesn't come right back to us?
Right,
Taxes?
Yeah, right? We get paid a percentage of those taxes, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well,
Yeah.
it goes into a different account,
Okay.
yeah, than what it's paid out from. That's why we do the transfers.
I'll make a motion to pay $74,000 transfer for, bills and 62,000 for payroll.
Second. Motion is second, all those in favor? Aye. Expense list.
I had mentioned to the board that we had a high volume of permits. And it was, I think one of them came in at nearly $30,000. So it's money that came in and now we just have to pay a third party.
Okay.
So that's why the number is a little high here. But that was just one permit. There's lots more that came in. It was supervision money.
So basically, it's money we've received and we're paying out now towards the bill.
Correct.
Motion is second, all those in favor? Aye. Okay. Resolution 22-16, video recordings.
Are you okay with it?
I don't know what it says. So I only had a preliminary, I don't know, I was in the packet back there, so I have no idea.
Well, you have to go to the bathroom instead of,
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know.
Motion and a second,
I'd like to, I think in the future that needs to be in the packets, it can be reviewed before you vote on things.
motion and second?
yep, motion and a second, all
letter.
15 Oxford Drive permit waiver agreement.
This was sent to the owner,
Okay,
by Great Valley Terry, so we're waiting for their
okay.
signature. And we'll bring it before the board and when it's ready for your signature. Just to give you an update though, it was done.
Okay.
What is that for?
They
That's
asked,
someone putting a fence within the right of way.
Okay,
They're
just,
allowed to
we
do
don't
it,
know,
but they
that's
gotta
all,
sign
thank
an
you.
agreement, so they have to
That's
take
fine,
it
it just, that information is useful, we don't know what you're talking about.
Fire alarm system agreement for review and approval. So, this went back for changes, correct?
yes.
And the changes that were made, Eric's okay with you initialing and changing and sending it back signed, or, so we can vote on this, or we did,
Yeah, he felt that with me marking out that indemnification section.
Yep.
okay,
Yeah, that if you, if the board approves it, we can submit it that way. And we'll have a new company for monitoring the building.
so we discussed this last time, went over all the figures. We just didn't approve it, because we were waiting for, okay. Did anyone have any questions again regarding the, so the pricing stayed the same that we discussed from the last time?
And we don't need any updates or anything? That's just them taking over the system we have now, correct?
But they offer more services, they come in more often.
They will come in once a year, he says really, you really don't need to do it any more than that.
Okay.
Their system though is compatible, they can link to what you have.
And check it,
Right.
Right.
The other company could not do that, but
and
this
that's what they offered over the last one.
And this is monitored 24/7, 365?
That's the difference.
Right.
Till the police can get there. To the building.
Good, thanks for that.
So,
It's 11:23.
Yeah, 11/23.
that's the annual investment.
That's once a year, right?
Yeah, yes.
Now, were they here to even check it out yet?
Mhm.
And, did they ask for any upgrades they think we should have?
That's what I think.
No, I think what we have is pretty much, it's pretty advanced. The only thing we could have done was maybe consider fiber optics, but I think they said stick with the landline. Sometimes if Windstream has a blip, it triggers the system, and, they said, no, leave it as it is, so.
Well, I think we need to have somebody monitor it. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Friendship Park, light poles quote. Did you guys figure that out?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so what do we have?
So, you wanna break it down by everything? We're gonna keep
The,
light one, explain what it is.
go ahead, sure, you're the boss, not me.
You're right. This is a quote for Baldwin to, redone. Installing 3 pole with power supply for extra 110 volt receptacles at each pole at the fairground area. Install 2 PVC conduits from the fairgrounds building out to the pole in the middle of the field. One will be for running power out to the electrical panel that we will install. Supply power to all new receptacles in the area with the new poles. Installing 1 PVC conduit between the 2 poles in the middle of the field. This quote includes all labor and material needed to complete this work as described. So for the 3 poles and all the conduits and stuff, it is $12,550. Quote's good for 30 days. Now, on those poles, I'll put it up here. On those poles, they will be installing 2 LED 300 watt fixtures. And then, clarify that, Keith, those are the same ones they put out at Plowville?
Correct.
Okay. So for 6 LED 300-watt fixtures, it is installed 4,315. And then we had asked them as well to kind of see what we had power-wise over at Carmel Grounds, because we have a lot of electrical issues over there, so they broke this down into buildings, but all in all, one set of buildings is 2,003, and the other set of buildings is 1,755. That will include them taking care of the electrical issues we've had over there for the past how many years, adding outlets. So adding them up all together, it comes to $20,643.
And then we'll have everything we want over there as far as lighting, electrical.
And everything will be ready for phase one of our camera install, correct?
That's phase.
Now, the diagrams they have on here had different locations where the poles we talked about. Are they still by where we decided to put them?
Diagrams?
Yeah, the
They
pictures.
put diagrams and they had a pole up by the, where the hell was it? One was over by, nowhere near where we talked about.
Yeah, one was over at the entrance by the ball field.
We had the one stake in between the two buildings there, right where the water line goes across, correct?
And one due west of that, and
Directly across by the
and
cross
one-
tree hydrant, and then one out by the property
One
line
at
by
the
the
south
zigzag
end.
and the split rail.
one at the south end.
Yeah, that's not kind of what you might want to just verify that with them before they put them in the wrong location.
They gotta make the wrong calls anyway.
Is 2 conduits enough? Because you talked about putting extra conduits in just in case.
Yeah, we're running the wire right away at this point.
Okay,
I have to walk to make the motion, yes, I will.
so I'll make a motion to move forward with
I'll
getting
make
this
the
done.
motion.
One second.
I have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
How much money?
20,643 for, some of the pole setup's gonna be for the camera install too, though, correct? Keith?
It's not, that was our job as part of that camera bid, we were to supply some of that.
Right, so that, the poles are part of, well, now the poles are up, then you put the cameras on.
Right. It was required that we perform that part of the
Correct.
camera job, so,
Okay.
yes.
Would you be okay if we use the rescue funds then?
Yes. Need a motion to use the rescue funds for that?
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Motion, second, all those in favor?
Aye.
And what's the time frame on it?
I'm gonna email him tomorrow morning, and he assured me that that would be done before your carnival.
Okay.
The big thing is getting the poles in without making a mess of the property.
April showers bring May.
You know, the big ones just full of ruts.
Thank you. Rescue funds. EMS COVID expense report, meeting scheduled for April 20th.
Have anybody guys, or have you guys thought about any more, what you want to give to the ambulance?
Anyone come up with that?
What was the number they were asking?
50,
57,000?
Yeah.
Because they base that on the formula that the fire company uses for our calls to service, what is it, medium income on top of, house assessment, I think it is.
so are we still required to do a breakout of what it's being spent on?
See, they were, so when we went to that meeting, they were telling us, and I love you when I say that there was no requirements for this money as long as you're giving it to the EMS. And we, only Junior and I both said, we don't think that's the way it goes, because in our meeting, it's been broken down as to how it can be spent, where, when, you know, the whole, how, what, where, when, why. And they said, no, that's not the case at all. There is no written rule like that. So, the reason we're asking here now is there rules, and what are those rules?
Because they're
Because we
changing.
can't just go here and
They're
count
changed,
money,
yeah.
from what I understand.
I just had training today, how to get in the treasury system and report how we're spending the money. So we do have to explain. And if it's COVID mitigation, you're good. So that's why I didn't ask EMS to, give a total for what they spent.
And what did they give?
Well, the ambulance, they want to buy a brand new ambulance.
They took,
So they're, well, you got two totaling $400,000. That's what they're trying to raise right now. So they currently cover 7 municipalities, because the 8th, I guess, is no longer.
And one of their hospitals just got shut down, so now they're traveling.
So their goal is to take a percentage of all of our ARPA funds, like not only ours, but every municipality that they cover, in hopes to get that $400,000 for these 2 ambulances.
Okay.
So that's what they're looking for.
So in this email that's dated 1/28/22, the recipient may not use funds for a program, service, or capital expenditure. Will the vehicle be a capital expenditure?
Yes.
It would, so the Treasury Department, let me step way back. So when the feds initially put the ARP money in place, we had, what, like 6 different reasons we could use it for, and a lot of them were pretty tight. And all of them were kind of COVID related. One of them was, revenue loss, where we are taking money, if we go through this complicated formula to figure out how much money we as a township lost in revenue because of COVID. The Treasury issued a rule that kind of sets out the parameters for all this stuff. The interim rule last May, so May 2021, and it's like 400 pages long. And people are going crazy because it's all over the place. It's really complicated, including this revenue loss rule. Fast forward, it's January, February of this year, and the Treasury issued its final rule. And the final rule says, you know, when we have a mortgage and you're doing your taxes, you can take the standard deduction on your deductions, or you can itemize. Well, the Treasury essentially did the same thing for this revenue loss category, saying anyone who's receiving this money can have an assumed amount of $10 million in revenue loss. Or you can go through this complicated calculation. Now, every township, every municipality in the Commonwealth received less than 10 million. So we can all claim the revenue reduction, revenue loss category. And what that does is, for our benefit, we can now use that money for any general governmental purpose. So we're no longer handcuffed at the township level to using it for kind of to directly tying stuff to COVID. So that does free us up with the contributions to the EMS.
Okay, so do we need a list from them then?
I would still
anymore?
want a list from them so you know what the
Okay.
money's going toward.
And did we get that?
Well, yeah, what they did was they broke it down and, including payroll. Payroll was the bulk of it, $100,000. They called it COVID payroll. So maybe they needed to hire more staff, and that is a legitimate.
The one thing I'd worry about though is we still have to spend it by December 2026. And that sounds crazy. We've got to commit it by December 2024, spend it by December 2026. And that sounds crazy if they're gonna buy an ambulance, like, oh, of course they'll buy it by then. But I'm not so sure anymore, because I've heard there's at least a 400 to 600 day waiting period for fire trucks, and that ambulances aren't.
Well, that may be the case, that's why they wanna meet and try to get an idea of what kind of funds they're getting. Because when we were at that meeting, there were only maybe 4 of the municipalities, like, represented.
But
Not-
once we
not even.
donated, isn't it out of our hands? It's done.
Yeah,
We're
but
not on.
They have to spend it too, so we have to
Okay,
track their
all right.
spending of it.
Okay.
One of the ways that, some of my other townships deal with this, not with ARPA money, but with just general contributions to the fire company or the ambulance, is we set aside as part of our donations every year a certain amount of money that we're gonna contribute to capital improvements to the new fire trucks, new ambulance trucks. But we hold it in a separate account, so it's always sitting in our account. It's all kind of delineated, set out, so they know how much they have waiting for them. And then when they're ready to write the check, they come to us and we give them money. The benefit that has for our purpose, not to piss off the fire company or the EMS, is if they're gone when, in a couple of years, then so goes the ambulance and all the money we give them toward it.
Right.
If there's an ambulance company in Chester County where they bought I think it was an ambulance company or a fire company, they bought a whole bunch of equipment and then they disbanded, and they were trying to give the equipment that all the townships funded away elsewhere. And there was a whole long lawsuit to try to get that back. We don't want that. We wanna hold as a separate escrow that money that they know is there for them, but they've got to, you know, come and knock and ask nicely when they're ready for it.
Well, we just cut them a check every year, right?
Yeah, which we cut them a check for 20 grand.
Now that, a lot of that might be just your general, kind of more operational donation to them. This is more for those long-term
Since we have to
improvements.
keep a record of this, I think we'll have to do, like he said, just put it in a separate fund if they
So-
want to use it.
Okay, so,
So you're saying we can give them the 57,000 to purchase 2 new ambulances? That's okay now? That is acceptable?
Yeah, we still need an accounting for it, and we still need to be able to make sure that she can put it in the right boxes when she goes to report it to the
Okay,
feds.
so on their end then, they have to prove that they're using that 57,000 where they lost that in their vehicles somehow, right?
No, we can,
not anymore.
no, we can use it for any general government purpose, we need to make sure that it's spent.
Okay,
we can't guarantee they're gonna be able to get a hold of an ambulance.
right.
How much will they want next year?
Well, they're content with the $20,000 donation we give them annually. When we had that meeting, they're okay with that, they're not questioning that, so that'll still stay a $20,000 donation. This is just a one lump thing
Because
to
of
help
the
them purchase
casino?
ambulances.
Because we're getting money from the casino, they think we're loaded?
No, they're
No,
not,
they
no,
took-
They're
no,
asking the same amount of everyone.
they're
Okay.
asking, they're
Oh,
using the
okay.
same
That's the only they're gonna
formula.
get it from them.
Right.
Like Honeybrook Township, I think they're asking, what, 122,000 or something from Honeybrook Township, because
They have all the,
they have a lot more
Senior
residents,
homes.
and they got a lot more money than we do from
Yeah.
ARPA, so they're,
Yeah,
the ARPA funds that the municipalities get is public knowledge, so the ambulance knows what every municipality that they cover got, and they're just basing their formula off of that and taking their percentage of it, if you will.
okay, so not the money in the water, but before we do this, what's the fire company gonna want next? So if we donate to the ambulance, or are we gonna donate to the fire company?
Sure they want a new truck.
I think the fire company just got a nice donation from the casino, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I was just asking.
Yeah,
I mean-
we actually stepped up our contribution this year when we did our budget, so we stepped it up, what,
Right, we
30,000?
did. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of,
So does anyone wanna make a motion to donate 10,000 to them?
What if we, before we do this, what if we find out if they can even get ambulances first?
Well, they want it
Because
anyway.
if it's a
It's not
400,
about, I
but
don't
if
know
it's
if
a
it's about
400
the
day
ambulance.
wait,
They want it
they
anyway.
want to purchase ambulance, but I think they want this anyway, just because, you know,
So I'm saying. because
you and I
they
both
have-
hear rumors that that's a failing organization. They say not, but whatever. I mean, that's not my problem.
And I do know they filed for a grant,
Right, they did.
I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of money in there.
Well,
Yeah,
see,
they get
when
that
you, when
grant.
you go to their meetings, they're gonna explain to you, since, Medicare and Medicaid, when they run, if they go and run a call at a nursing home, and when they get paid for Medicare and Medicaid, that only covers half the cost of the ambulance. So the ambulance is missing out every call it runs to a nursing home. So one of the arguments that I had when I went to their meeting several years ago was that Honeybrook wasn't contributing anything, and they were looking for support from all the municipalities to cover Honeybrook. And I was like, whoa, if everybody pays equally, I don't have a problem with that. But I'm not gonna cover a municipality that is not donating a dime. So that's why there was a little ill will there when they first started talking about this. Now, it's changed drastically. I guess Honeybrook has now been contributing and more than they, well, I guess their proper share now, so.
Well, we can always request to donate more later. You know what I mean? We can make it, if you wanna make a donation now, whether it be 5,000, and then down the road, we have time yet.
What I was gonna say is we take money, some money out of this one, and then we get our second set of funds, take some money out of that one, that way you're not taking it all out of it.
Right, we just need to.
Well, and that could be, why don't you do half now and half when you get the check next year?
so on what you were saying, what if we take that and put it in a, I know it's all, what if we take that and put it in a separate
We
account?
don't,
So when they go to buy the ambulance, we write the check.
because that money shouldn't be sitting, because we need to get it spent by 2024. or
That's what I'm
20
saying. What
Committed
if-
by 2024,
Committed
spent
by
by 2026.
2024.
If we give to them and they can't spend it, now what? They just go out and buy things?
Well, that's what I'm saying, if we say, I'll make a motion for $5,000, and then later on, if we decide we wanna do more, we can, nothing's stopping us.
What's the
and
upcoming
whittle it
meeting?
in that way if you
Is
want.
the upcoming meeting where they're gonna lay out to you?
Well, they're
like,
gonna find out who's in and who's out, I think, that's probably what they're looking for.
That's what they're looking for answers on who's gonna donate and how much. That's what they need to know. And I guess that's, they're prospecting to find out,
Yeah.
you know.
It sounds like our answer would be, we're willing to contribute, we wanna know what the money goes toward, and we wanna know what everyone else is contributing to make sure we're all on par. And then, you know, then we can have a motion in a future meeting to, give the exact, that's kind of how I hear everyone talking.
That's how I feel.
Well, we get a check now, we have a check now, we get a check next year, right?
July.
July.
This year.
I mean, the ambulance is important to our community,
It
without a doubt,
absolutely-
and I mean, I wanna take care of them.
Yeah.
We also been using those rescue funds for stuff that we need too, so I don't wanna dwindle that count down. But, I mean, I'd be okay with half of what they're asking for, at least, that's 25,000.
If we're using that for the police car.
I mean, and if you guys are okay with that, if you're okay with half of that, we could go to that meeting and say, hey, we could give you half, and then maybe when we get our next check, we could talk about the other half.
I go along with that.
What's in the account now? What do we have left fund-wise?
Diana, do you know what the rescue fund balance is? I think it's in here.
I'm sorry, what is?
The rescue fund balance we have in the accrual account, I think it's in your treasurer report. Sorry.
Yeah, it's in the, I'll give that to you in just a second.
I know I saw it.
Yeah, more.
I don't know.
Oh, actually, yeah, let me go into that account because I was gonna look it up on the bank, but actually that includes everything in the accrual, so give me just 1 second.
Yeah, well, right now.
COVID rescue, 146.
Yes, that's it.
It should be on the accrual report.
Yeah, we found it.
Okay,
Does that include what we paid out this time? Cause this bill list, we had a good bit, like 30,000. So we're looking at about.
yes, it does include that.
What's your number?
Okay, so 146 less what we just approved earlier for the parks, less 20,000. It's going down
116.
quick. And what do we have outstanding to pay out of that for cars and stuff? Anything?
Plus trucks.
We have stuff coming up that we committed to,
And computers.
and the computers.
We better do a tally and figure out what we really have.
Yeah.
That's why I asked the question.
Or we're gonna be writing checks that we can't get.
Well, I mean, so we go to the meeting, we tell them that we're gonna contribute something.
Yeah.
Right.
We just have to figure out what it's gonna be yet. I mean, you guys okay with that?
Yeah, we should contribute.
Absolutely, we need them.
Yeah, that's not the question. I mean, at this point, I think it's just what amounts do you want to decide on?
But I think we need to, if they're gonna buy that truck, how far is the lead time on that truck, and like you said, even about paying for it, I mean, that.
Well, those are the questions asked at the meeting. Who's going to the meeting? Okay, all right, so
I
then
think
next,
they're trying to get a commitment before they go ahead.
They're prospecting to see who's gonna chip in and how much before they make a commitment.
so at this point, less than 25,000, over 5,000? I mean, until we decide, until we get the
I
numbers
mean,
in?
let's not put a number on it until we figure out
Find out exactly
Well,
what
they're gonna
happens.
want an estimate.
I think that's
Okay.
reasonable. Find out how much we have.
what they need is
Right.
57,000 if they're gonna buy these two vehicles.
Well,
That's what they need.
57 from us, and then as long as everybody else contributes
And
their
everybody
fair
else's
share.
contributions, that's where they got that number to come up with the 400,000 to buy two vehicles.
They get another 80 million?
And you're not planning on giving anything additional to the fire department, is that the way I understood it?
Well, we just gave them an additional 30 this year.
So they should be good.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Okay, all right, so you guys guys go to the meeting, let them know that we'll donate something, but
That is April 20th at 7 PM.
Can I ask a quick question? We have the resolution you're about to do, and it says you received 218,000 in American Rescue Plan funds, and you were just saying 246, so I'm a little confused.
that's the balance.
Okay, well, that, it just says received 218 in this resolution.
146
One
is the balance.
forty-six is the balance.
Not 246.
146. Okay. All right, so can we get a breakdown of all that? I'd like to get that, I think,
It's all written down.
okay. That'd be something be good to have on the website.
Resolution 22-30, supplemental appropriations.
So these are bills that were on your bill list, and these resolutions are what we use to track what we
Okay.
spend.
And are these out of the totals, were they written out already, or?
It sounds like yes.
Yes, okay. So it looks like we have links in there, Cody system. For $10,256 total. So that would come out of the funds, or that came out of the funds for the appropriations already. So we need a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor? Aye. Hillside Land Development Agreements. Who's taking that?
I can try to take it. So my understanding of it is these guys have already gotten all their approvals from you. It's just been more than 90 days since we've given their approval. So we just need to reaffirm the approval so they get fresh signatures when they go and file the plans. The other three are just a motion to approve the forms of our land development agreement, financial security agreement, and stormwater management agreement. So that those can all be signed, and the plans then aren't released until we have those in hand. But if you approve the forms, then we're ready to roll once we get everything in hand here at Township.
Okay, so we need a separate motion on each.
You could do a motion on reaffirming the plan approval, and then one motion to cover the forms of the financial security agreement, development agreement, and stormwater management agreement.
I'll make a motion to reaffirm the plan.
Just a second there, Jeff, just to update everyone, there was kind of a lapse of time there that there was a review issued by Great Valley, I think it was in October, and when they started, bringing their plans back through, they had made changes to the pond in the back, they had to, per the DEP requirements to close out the previous permit. And when we looked into that, there was actually some items that they hadn't addressed, mainly the fire commissioner and fire chief, they didn't really, finalize those. I issued a letter, I don't have a copy of it in front of me here, but I've been going back and forth with the engineer, and the stormwater comments have been addressed, and really up until this week, there wasn't really clarification, but, Pete had actually talked to him directly. The comments that were in the commissioner's letter that said, talk to the fire chief, he had been out once or twice, I believe, one of them today, just to verify, and he said he is fine with what's shown on the plans. So the comments in our letter have pretty much been taken care of, just to point that out. And I think the plans, did they bring plans today?
Yes, they're in the
And
back
that
of
is-
the room,
Yeah,
ready for
Okay.
signature.
if they match what I've seen recently, then I think the plans are okay, but I
So
haven't had a
should we
chance to
wait?
check them.
So
I,
we can make a motion contingent upon it
You
passes your
approving.
approval.
yeah.
Yep.
I'll make that motion.
Motion is second, all those in favor? Aye.
The only other thing for Hillside was they still had, $2,500 in, held with the township, and that was for the first phase. When the original building was built, that was for the 18-month maintenance period. There was just a small amount of, really a small amount of improvements within the right of way. At this time, they don't need any repairs, so I did actually prepare a letter that I'll drop to Joan here today, but,
Now, is Hillside one of the ones that we escrowed money for stormwater?
Yes, and the changes they made to the pond, which weren't necessarily 100% complete with DEP, there are funds in the new escrow that they're establishing now
Okay.
to cover that. That was something that Eric.
Because that's now ordinance, right, that we have that escrow in there for stormwater for future.
Oh, the future inspection, yes, they
Yeah.
have that as well, that was part of
Okay.
something they had posted recently. But yeah, I think that there would need to be a motion, to release that $2,500 associated with the maintenance period for the original building.
You need separate
So,
motions.
so I need a
Motions in
motion
here.
for
I'll
the,
make the motion for the financial agreement,
and the development agreement and the stormwater can all go together.
or individual for all of them.
You can do all those together, and then Scott's motion next on release the maintenance bond for the
Okay,
phase
so I'll
one.
make a motion on financial agreement, development agreement, and stormwater agreement.
First and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then your next motion would be to release the maintenance bond for phase one.
And I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2022 street work proposal.
So, I think the road inspection meeting isn't until the end of the month. I had sent an estimate.
Okay.
Why don't we push this to the workshop?
Yes, if you have
And
something
discuss
to
it.
cover, I mean,
We have road inspection beforehand, right?
Quick question, do you want me to just revise that to try to have an estimate that matches what the budget is? So going into that, there's at least a kind of a starting point of, here's a recommendation of where to go, but then, I mean, the discussion obviously will lead it in whatever direction you want to, but,
so you mean keep it within budget and then have the extras.
or take and choose what might be
Right.
better to do, and, cause I do have additional streets on there, so hopefully they can help with some of that. One of them was Valley Road, but, the phase 2 sheds is going to be cutting into it for their water line extension. So that kind of nixed that really until they have that come down through, cause it might be in the shoulder as well, so.
Well, I guess maybe after the inspection, you might better know. You'll
That's
know
what I'm
better when
thinking.
you-
Let's just push that to workshop after, you're coming to the road inspection.
I can,
Tuesdays, right?
I think I can be there.
Well, it's on,
It's right before the
it's
workshop.
right before workshop, you don't normally come to workshop, that's
Yeah,
why I'm
I typically
asking.
go. Yeah, I'll let you know if I can get
Why
that
would
for
we
you.
why would we put it on a workshop? Why did you?
I think you had that scheduled before the start of the year.
No, I think you scheduled it.
Anyhow, so we're gonna push this off until they have the road inspection, and we'll put it on the workshop meeting.
Yeah, are we all going to road inspection like we used to? Used to be that
I
all.
think that's why you put it at least on a
Well, we're
scheduled
gonna,
meeting. so-
whoever wants to
Right.
go from the board, we meet at the maintenance building.
Right.
an hour
I think it's
before
good to
the
find
budget.
out exactly what's going on, so. we should
That's
make
the
it-
way we've always done it, whoever wants to go.
Always
go.
done that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, personnel manual updates.
I put that on there just to kind of get things going or continue. If the board wants us to present something, I think we talked about the CDL job description. If the board's okay with us, well, actually, I think Keith, Fritz, you had mentioned, yeah, you were looking at that.
Yeah, I looked at a bunch of stuff with that. Keith and I sat down and went over the manual. There's some additions that I'd like to see. The CDL is completely separate from the regular work laborer. And in reality, they both do the same thing except for the fact that the CDL driver can drive everything and the non-CDL driver cannot. You still wanna do the same amount of work, you just can't drive it. So there's a couple of odds and ends that just, I think, should be tied up and then put back out.
Okay, so
You're
you're
okay
gonna
with
work on
that?
something and submit it for us to
Yeah,
review?
yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on the personnel manual? Public Works, Resolution 2231, the 2022 Chevy truck authorized signer. I think we normally would have Keith sign. Anyone wanna make a motion?
well, we already did this, we're just doing a resolution one, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we made it official.
So we're gonna approve the resolution.
The new,
pickups ready to pick up.
Yeah, I'm saying, I thought we already
Delivery.
approved this, but it's just, whatever, we'll approve, I'll make a motion to accept the resolution.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Resolution 2232, 2021 Chevy return transfer transaction.
Same thing, you're gonna take care of that then?
Yeah, it's at the same
I'll make
time.
a motion for 2022-32.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
2233 for the 2023 Freightliner, authorized signer.
And that's done too?
They're anticipating that to be done. I had Joan put this on there, but we don't have the finance paperwork completed, and I don't know whether it'll be done before the PSATS program next week. They're gonna put the tag, one of the dealer or, Quits is gonna put a tag on that, and take it to Hershey for the show. So this could wait, but if you approve it tonight, once the finance paperwork is approved with Diane and the board, then it's just a step we don't have to take.
I might as well approve it, I'll make the motion, 2022-33.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2234 Chevy pickup municipal bid results.
So legally, it's a bound thing on municipal bid because it did meet your reserve. It closed today around 3 o'clock. So the winner, it's $4,400.
Really? What was your reserve? 3,000?
So I didn't know if, just for formality, if
Still do it.
they accept the.
Yep.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor? Aye.
The next one on that, 5.5, if the 2023 freight or 2022 Freightliner is about to be delivered, when do you wanna advertise the international?
Is that what truck to advertise on municipal bid is about?
That would be, is that on there somewhere else?
Yeah, it's right underneath. what it
Oh, I'm
says.
sorry.
So are we still using that truck in place of the new one at this time?
It is, and we could still use it even after we advertised it. It would just be, if you got it advertised and it was on till June, it's not a big deal. It's just getting it out there and letting people see that it's up for sale.
So, make a motion to,
Well, now's a good time to sell a dump truck. I mean, everybody's working right now, so, but I would say not till after we've gotten that new truck, because you
I
can't
still
do
have
that
the
without a truck.
I still have the 97 down there, so yes, you can set the sale date at your leisure. I would expect that we're gonna take delivery of the other one by May.
So can we set a date saying that 1 week after the receival of the new truck?
well,
How often do we use our trucks over summer months?
Well, if you advertise that on municipal bid for 30 days and it doesn't get advertised for another week or two, you're looking at June anyway before you
Yeah,
can make any
right.
decision.
So we
this is
can
just
post
giving
it
you
now.
permission to advertise.
I
To
think
get
I'll
the
make a
ad
motion to
together.
advertise it.
So just do it now?
Motion.
Yeah.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
We need to talk about a reserve.
Yeah, well,
What was the other one you went for?
there's a wide range, anywhere from 25 to 50,000, depending on what you look at. On municipal bid, 30 is a pretty good average.
How many miles are on it?
28,000. They're all fairly close. That's what they're bringing. If you set it too low, you're committed to sell it. If you set it for a little higher and you don't, you can lower it and post it again.
So you're comfortable with like 32?
35.
Too high is a turnoff. Too low is a turnoff. I would think somewhere in that 30, 32 should be fair. I would feel that's fair.
230?
I mean, it's up to you. I can't, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what somebody's gonna need, what they're gonna pay.
Put that in the motion, $30,000, put that as a reserve.
So, motion to advertise truck with minimum 30,
Yeah.
reserve 30.
Reserve 30.
So we had a motion,
Second it.
senior seconded, all those
Still
in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, HVAC unit quote for approval.
How much needed purchase, right?
Yeah. That's the maintenance facility.
Yeah, we were.
The Freon's leaking both inside and outside on that unit. It's original. Tried.
And rescue funds would come in handy.
Open the doors.
Can we buy them a fan? I wonder if Walmart will donate a fan.
Okay, we have a motion to go ahead and get this fixed for them.
Second. I thought you said you had a motion, I apologize.
Actually said, do we have
We
it?
have
I'll make a motion.
Nobody says
A motion, anyone want a
Of
second?
course, he wants to
so.
see.
Yeah, he works down there, so.
You can't blame me for that.
Anyone want a
now.
second?
How often do you go down there?
I never.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Aye.
How much is that quote for?
I don't have it in front of me,
Oh, okay.
7,800.
Okay.
That sound about right?
$9,600.
$9,660.
I was gonna say we did post that, or say that.
Police pension plan. Close the transition letter?
Yes. This is requested by Truist, so it's a formality thing. I think Eric said it really wasn't necessary. I just said, well, I'll just keep the board informed because
Yeah.
it takes a while to get through all this stuff. We're getting close. So Truist just asked for this letter and I put Sandy's signature, line
So
on
we
here.
need a motion for me to sign that letter.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Assets transfer, proposed meeting dates.
Okay, so I think I included this in your packet. Conrad Siegel, they have proposed dates to discuss the transfer of these assets for the police pension plan. So I thought maybe the liaisons for the police department might wanna be a part of this meeting.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Okay, so they have proposed dates on here, so should I just correspond with both of you? Pick a date?
That's gonna be 4 different meetings?
No, just one.
Just one,
He
yeah.
just gave us several options. He said about 30 minutes. And I mentioned the chief, that perhaps maybe we could have officers here if they'd like to hear.
What date suits you, Keith?
When's the PSATS training?
18th to the 22nd.
Pretty close, pretty close.
Well, I mean, we don't have to decide that tonight, right? You guys can figure it out.
Right, you guys can email back and
You guys
forth.
go back and forth and figure it out.
Okay.
I'll be in
We don't
touch.
need a motion on that one, really.
Land development plans, Morgantown Road commercial extension letter.
Basically, they had submitted a extension letter to extend the deadline to July 16th, 2022. I think at this point, it just needs the supervisors to acknowledge the extension.
Where is this at?
Looks like that.
That's what I'm looking at, what it says.
What property?
This is the land development plan that's, across from the Hotel McDonald's area.
The old
Kind of
turnpike.
The
Okay.
turnpike, yeah. That culvert right there.
I'll make a motion.
Motion? Second? All
Did you
those in
talk to them
favor?
about planning on that, with that cross from the intersection there?
I didn't reach out to them specifically on the.
Well, I mean, I'd like to get some input on that. I think we talked about it, trying to get access into our property there, but then also talking to St. Thomas Church there about working with them. Because I know, even when you were on the board back in the day, you said we had an easement that went through there, didn't you?
Used to be a road.
Yeah, so,
There is, I mean, the improvements they're showing, there's a portion of what I thought was
Access.
the church cemetery property that they need an easement off of. It's probably about, I don't know, 50 foot off of the, existing right of way, that they need that for some of the improvements they're doing, but I think they're getting that from the church.
well, I'd be
Church.
interested in getting something off there to access our property on the backside there.
So I think the part we're looking at would probably be more of the church to talk to, I don't know, it might overlap with this property, but I think it's more appropriate to I think the church property has the access.
We may have access to the back of our property through his property, he may work
Well, the
with
plan
us
that I
on
saw
that.
had a huge guardrail around there, and that's not gonna give us any access there,
Well, he
so.
could put a break in the guardrail.
That's what I'm saying, I wanna be
Gate.
part of the planning process when it comes to that, and I think Keith, you should get involved in that as well. To see if we could do something, because I know there were many times we talked about putting a satellite pole building up there or something, that'd be the perfect way to access that.
I
So-
agree.
You may be able to get to it even without breaking the guide rail. I think between the cemetery and the guide rail that
Yes.
we're showing, I think there's gonna still be room to access it. You don't have to deal with church or whoever owns that, but
I forgot.
I can,
I just want them to be aware that we wanna do something there, so.
yeah, I can send a snapshot to everybody just so you can see the area.
Do we know who actually owns it?
Well, that's what they were looking into at our last meeting.
Well,
They were looking into who actually has the right of way there, who owns it, where is it?
I think that area is more the southwest corner. You know, what's across the street from there? Is that another church cemetery or something? like
No,
that?
they were looking at,
I
they
think
were
that's
looking
the
at
questionable
that.
area.
They were
That's
looking
where
at
they're
that as
talking
well
to.
as.
That's where I'm talking.
That's where Paulie's talking
On the
to.
same side of McDonald's, or you're talking on the
No,
ball
on the
field?
other side,
No,
right by
they're-
the cemetery.
I think that's,
If you would take that drive straight across, there's like a 50-foot area between there and where the cemetery starts.
yep,
That used to be a road that went in there.
yep.
And all I'm saying is that, I mean, that used to be our road, if I'm not mistaken.
And when we moved the stage back, it kind of sat on that, but we never really included any roads on it.
We did discuss that in a meeting about giving that, so the cemetery, the church needs access to get in and out, to dig graves, to fix graves, to whatever. So that has been a discussion.
Yeah, if that was an old
Past.
paper street or something. at
Yeah, I
some
mean,
time,
obviously the church
it
might
shows
put
up as
some
a
overflow
church right
parking
now.
there if they got enough room to do that, because they're, on Sundays, their lot fills up and they don't have enough, they don't have enough
Well,
parking.
and they may,
On their
you know,
plan, it's the church.
Huh?
On the plan that's submitted, it's the church property.
Yeah,
I
well,
thought
I
we were-
think when we closed it off, I don't know how that worked, but the church took it over, isn't it?
We didn't, I don't think we did anything legally, we just closed, stopped the road.
Put a gate through it.
Yeah, I think we did, so it's
there is a gate there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
but as long as we get access, we either have to go
Yeah.
through the developer or the church, but we need to have some kind of access to that.
Yeah, I think it's through the church because the developer actually needs permission to do what they're doing. And it's not a big cut of that 50 foot, let's say, but they are into it where they're getting easement, so. But I can still send that snapshot so you see what is out there and proceed with that.
So we have a motion and a second for the extension. All those in favor? Aye. Morgantown Village Land Development Plan update.
So this is, Keith's here on behalf of that. There was, and so this goes back to, as you guys know, in July of 19, after going through the stormwater review and a couple of different times back and forth with how do we approach this, they needed a stormwater approval for that lot that got put in. And that was issued sometime around, I think it was, I think August of 2019. Basically, they got out and did the work in March.
I know.
Now, and it included the stormwater improvements, and it included the PennDOT improvements. I had just sent a letter to them this morning, basically saying that as far as the improvements we were looking at, that included paving that lot. And now, to go back to when this was actually started, the board at that time issued a deferral of paving that parking lot until,
So for like a year.
September of 2021. So that was for a 12-month deferral of having to pave it. So that was.
And the problem is?
Well, no, I just figured I'd come in and talk about it, you know? And then you were saying something about the curb there and the right turn. There's the PennDOT permit.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know
what
if
it
you've seen
is.
it.
And that's what we put in.
He sent this, we weren't really reviewing PennDOT plans, the township wasn't. reviewing PennDOT plans, that was a separate permit, he needed to get that. What do they need to see out there, and there's a bump out for the curb.
What do you do? You just put it, I drove by and I didn't even pay attention.
My concern is you can even see the tracks from the wrong
We tore this.
lane turning into the property. It's not really accomplishing what it needs, but
And then this is all full dap, 2-foot cut back here. Now, I mean, I could stripe it.
to be honest with you, to Keith's credit, he got it
Yeah, I mean,
approved by
you
PennDOT.
know what the problem is,
approved
we
by
gotta get
PennDOT.
everything to go west, so, I mean, even if you stripe it that way, but
Right, I did keep it it is wider than what's on here, but that's what the plan was and that's what was approved, so that's what we're doing.
I mean, PennDOT approved it.
Right,
What do we have to
I
say?
mean, you know how
well,
it is.
you gotta get PennDOT to sign off on it.
Oh, yeah, no, he's working.
And we didn't get that yet.
Well, you will.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, I was in contact with him the whole time.
I guess he's gotta, you haven't done the stop bar that's supposed to be there, right?
Yeah, and I was looking for a stop bar on here,
I mean,
the
maybe if you're gonna-
thermoplastic, or maybe I can stripe it,
That's
more
what
of
I'm
an
thinking,
angle.
at least maybe a little bit more to try to discourage it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
I
if
mean,
they're
you
out there
could put
doing
up
it,
some of those round reflective things and fasten to the ground, but
Yeah, I mean,
they might,
but-
that might not be, PennDOT might not want that.
In the discussion after I sent the letter, he pointed out that, hey, it's per the HOP plan, PennDOT did approve it. I mean, if they're gonna sign off on it, so be it, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't hurt to have a little.
in all honesty, you know you're pushing your patience with us.
Oh, I know.
So what's
You know what I
not
mean?
done that needs to be done?
Well, the parking lot's gotta be blacktopped.
And we
Right,
gave it
It was
okay.
supposed to be done 2
2021.
years ago.
Right, 2021 was a deferral, right?
Well, right,
Yes.
okay, so,
You know, this
Our whole
this
thing
could have
is-
been stopped if you would've just paid for a parking lot permit 2 years ago. You know that, right?
well, we would've had to pave it still, right?
Yeah, but you wouldn't have to go through all the stormwater stuff. We were willing to overlook a lot of
It's
stuff.
not
but you
your
ignored
guys'
us.
fault.
I know.
We know. I take credit. We're delinquents.
Just make it right. So if
Oh,
that
yeah.
means you got a blacktop, you got a blacktop.
Right, so how about I do this, okay, because how about I binder it? But
I'm okay with binding.
but I'll use 19 millimeter,
So you're gonna use airport mix.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gonna look like top, it's gonna be
That's fine.
pretty much, pervious like top, or impervious.
I think as long as it's paved, I don't think we can really,
I'm not worried about a top. I mean, what are you doing, 3 inches, what?
Well, I'll probably do,
2.5 is usually.
2.5, yeah.
That's usually
It's
what
what's
they
your
get
spec?
on it.
Is it 2.5, 1.5, or
I-
2, 1?
When you're getting into the paved private development, we don't really spec it out. I think they might have for the driveway what goes in, but he's already
Well,
passed
I mean,
that.
I know that you and your partner wanna do something different with that lot down the road.
We're gonna be
I get
tearing
that,
it up.
I get that, but the thing of it is, you're right in the front there, everybody sees it, and they're like, well, how
I
come
know.
he can do this, and he
Yep.
doesn't have to do this, so,
Right.
you see where we're coming from.
So when will this be done?
A couple weeks.
Nice weather, blacktop
So-
plants are open up, you ought to be able to do it, but then,
Oh, yeah.
I don't want you to jeopardize your stormwater bed either. I mean, I talked to Scott, you guys put in a little bit more than what was needed, but are you gonna give an as-build to him? Cause I think you changed it from original plans.
Yeah, well, I kept 1,027 square feet
Yeah, he,
of that depth, the 2'6", whatever, by 5 feet. And because they had these things on here.
the construction of the actual trench that he put in, it was spot on to what the plans are.
Yeah,
The dimensions changed a little bit, but he did
The
continue to
cubic-
wrap it.
But you have the volume.
yes.
He's got, yeah, you can tell he's got.
But if you change it from the original plan, just give an as-built so we have record of it.
Okay.
So are we putting the June 1st date on this?
I mean, you can say it, cause but I'll do that, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know what I'm looking at, but some other people
Yeah, I
don't. I
know
wanna
you
keep
do.
it on file, that way, we know what's going on, correct?
Yeah, I think if it's paved, as long as he's paving it, I wouldn't say the specs. I'm saying 2.5, because that's usually the minimum.
We
for
don't
19
really have any truck traffic in there at all, so.
Yeah.
We'll make it right.
But as for the entranceway with the curb, if they sign the HOP and you have a copy of that, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Are you willing though,
I'll stripe
if there's well, I mean, if you stripe it and realize that there's an issue there, if we have an accident because people are still trying to make that left, maybe we could do the reflective things to try to at least get it to go a little further.
Which we would have to get that okay with.
Yeah.
I can ask him.
I would say something to them, just cause I don't know how that's
It's-
really gonna direct the
it's
people. 'Cause
probably
I too have seen tire marks making a left going east on that anyway, so.
Right, well, you know how that is.
I know.
You could put you know,
They're still
guardrail
gonna
around
do
that
it.
way,
I know.
people are gonna go around them. But-
Sorry, put a date on
Alright, so, yeah, what,
June first, or is
that's fine,
June first.
yeah, that's fine. I wanna get it done sooner than later, but I got a
All right, May
schedule,
first.
I got a schedule.
May
Okay,
Alright,
anything else on this?
Yeah, yeah, then,
Nothing for you?
thanks, guys.
Yep.
Alright,
thanks for showing up, Pete.
What's your report?
Now, June second, it's not done, you know, we're coming after you, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It'll be
Status
done.
update. What's the report?
I guess I can chime in on at least the fact that there was a complaint received. It was by one of the HOAs. The name on it was Richard Hirschberger. In summary, the complaint was pull whatever bond is there and try to finish up what work they had listed. I went out and looked specifically to what they have listed. The first comment they had was really that there was just overgrowth. There's really other areas in that entire HOA that has similar overgrowth, and on the approved plans, this was not to be ripped up in the area where he was saying. It was really existing brush and trees that were going to stay. So I don't necessarily know that we can go in there and require that of a developer to go beyond what the approved plan was. And then there's also a question about heavy brush and chain link fence obstructing water flow in the spillway. Yes, there was a fence in there, kind of buried in the trees. I think it was an initial, like, silk fence. He's agreed to take that down, Joe has. As far as the overgrowth in the spillway, Joe says that the spillways out on Valley Ponds Drive are actually the overall HOA. It's not necessarily his concern, and I didn't really see any that may be something he didn't do for his plan. And anything else that's still outstanding was really addressed in a previous letter from Eric's office on December 30th, so I don't think this necessarily requires an additional notice to Joe.
Where do we stand with the fence? The split rail above the rock cliff?
Anything to do with the fence, there has not been, he claims there's not a response from Burke's Homes who installed it, but it's really Joe's property. So
It's Joe's issue, so I
It's
think
Joe's
we
issue.
go forward with whatever we gotta go forward with. I mean, this has been going on too long.
did Harry do anything on the fence issue that you're aware of?
No, I mean, I'd have to look back, cause he did make comments, but
I think
they were waiting for Bert, I think.
we're at 30 days past when we said the escrow had to be increased. He did not respond to that, so the appeal period has passed. I don't know if Eric was going to try to take everything at this point and then proceed with the next step. I think that's kind of what he hinted at. Joe said he was gonna drop off a check for that other amount when I talked to him
The
2 days ago. but
1,103.
He said he was gonna drop it off, but it hasn't been received, so I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm tired of these small builders like this taking advantage of us and pushing us to the limits, and we just don't do anything about it, and we need to keep going forward with this. I don't know how you guys feel,
So
but
what's the next step?
I think we're beyond the 30 days of everything that has been issued, so.
So let's go to the next step. And that would be,
he took care of all the stormwater stuff, though. Weren't there some stormwater issues that he was supposed to address as well? Or was he pushing that onto the HOA? The work that Risbon did down there, that was for the HOA, or that was, some of that was for him? I know that was probably prior.
I think that was for the Valley Ponds Association.
Cause they did the swales and they did all the riprap and all that stuff, they extended that pipe, they did a weir plate on the outlet structure down there at the bottom, that was all done by the HOA, correct?
I can't answer that, that was
I
Terry.
think that was all Valley Ponds except for the weir plate. That was required by Joe on his development.
Cause I know some of that was Joe's, I wasn't sure what was all his.
He has some restoration to do on the
Okay.
property. He still hasn't finished the lighting, which was part of the original letter from Eric.
And he was making
saying
an
that he's
excuse about
getting
that the last time he was before us.
When I spoke to him last, he said, some of the fixtures that were at another location, they may have been
Yeah.
taken. It isn't really, there's nothing solid here as far
Then
as.
we're Mr. Nice Guy. Then we're Mr. Nice Guy, keep going after him.
Yes, he.
Oh. I just turned to a dog.
okay. So is that way, that's listen to the Valley Ponds letter, Community Association sending us a letter asking that they want the money that the township collected?
Correct. They're asking if there's any escrows to be pulled and used to do the restoration in lieu of him doing the restoration.
But then wouldn't that be taken from anything we need done, that, is it, what other work is there to be?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't, no,
Yeah.
what are we doing with him now? Are we taking,
I think,
filing something against him?
I think it's time to file, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll have
Okay.
Eric
Okay,
transfer
so,
Susan defaults.
I'd assume that
everybody
is,
wants to file, yeah,
Yes,
we move forward, next step, okay.
Okay.
we've been doing this for 3 years, on and off.
Is that how long it's been?
Oh, yeah.
That's an Eric material.
Okay, so was that the HOA complaint? Did we go over that at all?
that was the
That was
HOA.
Okay, that was it, okay. So we're done with
Well, I mean,
Web's report?
should we
Or do-
respond to the HOA and tell them that we're trying to take matters, that we're pursuing this?
I had a draft email to the board, responding to what I had in there. If you want me to put that into a letter and work with Joan, whether it comes from our office or the township.
Well, I don't want them to think that we're overlooking their complaint,
I
so at
agree.
least
Yeah,
send them
so-
something.
Yeah, so,
We can-
Okay, sure.
all right, we're done with Web's report. Proposed Popeye and Wendy's.
That will be at the next planning commission meeting.
Can't we get Chick-fil-A?
I don't know.
Good luck.
Apartments on Main.
I haven't heard anything from that, have you, Joan?
No.
91 Rock Ridge, consider alternative stormwater discharge solution.
I had something here. This was in the engineer's packet, but I would just say, take one and pass it down just because it's a little bit, better printout. Behind.
I've got something here.
So basically,
Sorry.
there was the issue with the property owner at the end of the cul-de-sac. I tried to communicate with him, but luckily, Paul was out there and had talked to him directly.
Do you have a big picture of this, you can put it there?
You said it's a part of your package.
Yeah. So, the way the plan that was going to be constructed and really matched what the recorded plan was right before the driveway, there was gonna be the end of the swale and it dumped down towards that property. That's where it's always been, that's the plan moving forward. After talking to him, the idea was to continue that swale to his driveway, pipe it underneath his driveway and have it discharged on the other side of the driveway. Simply basically take it from one side to the other. That moves the path where the water's gonna go slightly more towards the neighboring property. But that neighboring property is already receiving this water. I think there needs to be communication with that
Per
person.
his request,
He was receptive to
Yeah,
that
I'll
idea.
show you when we get
so
up here.
we get that in writing from him, approving that he requested.
So let me explain this to you, so, I went down,
No, he didn't-
bring it back
Staying
in,
within the easement.
bring it over,
Discharge point.
bring it back down, bring it back down.
That's the subdivision.
Bring it down. Alright, so I'm not that tall, so anyway, so. Stop him. Keep moving. So anyway, the swale goes down here, this is where Keith cleared out some property here, and we come up here to reestablish this cul-de-sac. Every plan that we looked at, Keith and I and Scott looked at, this swale goes down here, comes here, and this is his driveway. It dumps out right before his driveway. That's what he doesn't want. So Keith and I went up there, and I suggested taking it past his driveway by putting a pipe in his driveway, bringing it around the cul-de-sac and dumping it down the property line. We were concerned about this house, but if you see the natural contours of the ground, it takes it this way
Yeah.
and nowhere near his house. So, the plans that he drew up are showing it with this pipe. I did talk to Eric, he did draw up an easement on that pipe too. Do you know about that?
I think he's got it, I think he said there's a need for an easement, I haven't seen it, but.
Okay, so that was the plan, he was supposed to draw up an easement, he was supposed to draw up a plan, we were gonna bring it before you guys to show us what we planned on doing. if everybody was on board, then I was gonna call a meeting with us to meet with the gentleman that come in and complained. But we also wanna get the other property owner there, get him on board and let him know what's
Yeah.
going on as well.
Jonathan Bruce is the name on the,
Who would be responsible for the?
We are responsible for
Okay.
installing it, but
But
once
who's
it's
maintenance?
installed, that's what's gonna be part of the easement, the property owner will be in charge of that. Now, I played that voicemail for you where he agreed to all this stuff, so
Yes. And did we get that
that's why
recorded and
I have it, I just haven't, I don't know how to get it to Eric.
transfer, okay, okay.
So I wanted to get everybody's approval where we're going with this and then set up a meeting and get all the proper people involved in it. That's kind of where we're at.
yeah, I think. to your point about the-
And then as soon as these plans here,
Yeah.
Risbon said they could do the work, we just have to get them a plan so they can come back with a price of how much it'll be over top of what we already have them doing with extending it.
Okay, so the property owners,
Can I just ask a question on that? I'm Deborah's father. When you're moving, there is a holding pond already to the north of that driveway.
Yes,
Okay, that's a big holding pond.
yes,
When
but
you're
that's
moving
that's
that-
uphill.
Well, pipes can be buried.
You can't take water uphill.
Well, the driveway to the bottom of the holding pond, I don't think is uphill to the middle of the holding pond.
The holding
It's
pond
a
you're
hill
talking-
going to it, but it isn't, the pond itself isn't up there, the pond is lower. What I'm saying is,
Yeah.
when you move that to the south, that area is not that big where you're gonna dump that water.
But it's already going there.
Some is, very little though. When you look at it, it's not very much. If you start dumping that consistently like it is, I think you're gonna run into an issue there.
Currently, the way it's going is going straight across the cul-de-sac, and it's dumping out in that same exact, we're just gonna take it to one particular spot with one dump out.
And you-
The way the plan shows that it's supposed to be before his driveway, it's supposed to shut off. The problem I see is though, somewhere along the night when he put that driveway in, he must have put a pipe under there because there's a stream there.
I agree.
Okay, so this would actually, the way it's designed right now, it's supposed to go before his driveway, hit that and go underneath that pipe. We're just taking it a little bit further and dumping it on his property line.
I don't think he put a pipe under there,
I don't,
based on what Malin's told us, because Malin did a lot of the work there, and I don't think he put a pipe there. He decided not to do it.
Well, that house is not part of the original Mountaineer
Right,
Village.
right.
So parts of it aren't listed on the prints that we've been reviewing. So it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Now, to the right of where you're talking, there's an easement there that we found that goes up to a basin that's, I guess would be to the north, correct,
Right,
Keith? Is that
right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that hasn't been cleared out in 30 years, so we have some pretty decent trees there. But we can't get the water to go from there uphill to that though. It'll never happen.
Is the pond there itself higher than the cul-de-sac?
Oh, yeah,
It is higher?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't walk up there, but standing down there, I had to look uphill to look at it, so.
Well, it's a big hill getting to it.
Yeah.
But it goes
But
down.
then it goes down a long way, so
Yeah,
I'm
but I mean,
thinking
you're pretty
that
low down that
the
cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac and that pond are not, isn't higher.
See,
than
the one thing that we have to look at is we have to stay within the legal parameters of the law. So when I take a look at the 4 different plans, okay, the 4 different plans that we looked at all show the water going before his driveway. I was trying to keep a happy medium with him, that we all kind of got what we wanted. That's why I'm extending it past his driveway, okay? And that way, it's a win-win for all of us, okay? That's
Just-
kind of the way we look at it.
I took a look at it too, and I think trying to extend it all the way to where the property line is, there's a difference right past his driveway. There's almost a flat area where you can create either just an end section coming off the pipe, or you could do a level spreader and keep it just like it was per the original plan. The only issue I have with the level spreader, it seems like with plowing over time, that has been kind of the issue that occurred where that thing got filled in and it got pushed
Well, I
over.
mean, a level
think
spreader would help it sheet flow a lot better than dumping it out at one pipe.
Exactly. It's either we're doing a riprap apron to try to spread it or create the level spreader to put in. It's one or the other.
You're the engineer, you
It's
tell me.
right, yeah, I think it'd be great to stick towards the plan, but I think there's a reason you don't see those level spreaders the way they drew it up going in anymore.
Well, there's no denying over these past several years, we've gotten a lot more rain than we have in the past, so, you know, we're finding issues like this.
I think it's an end section, but it's also a matter of who's gonna maintain that part too, so it'd be kinda nice to just do a pipe and then have it go, but.
Okay, so what decisions do you need, Penny, on?
I wanna make sure everybody's on board with this, what we planned, and then, we call a meeting
with the property owners.
And then I'll follow up, or you follow up with Eric to find out where he stands on an easement for the pipe under the driveway.
And I think that the idea would be to get an agreement for the pipe under the driveway and an agreement that moving forward, this is something he's okay with.
If everybody's okay with it, you can draw something up that we can send that off to Risbon, that Risbon can actually get a price.
Yeah, I think if we have the okays from these two here, then that part's not an issue.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on this property? 413 Swamp Road zoning hearing board decision.
This is just formality for you all to know the zoning hearing board's decision on this.
Is that the dog thing?
No, that has been extended. It's each week they're continuing it. So no decision has been made about that one. This was just, had something to do with extending the ag use, I think is what it said. Yeah,
Was this just the move of the property line
yes.
between family? Okay, was this the one?
No,
No.
no, this one was, it's had to do with ag use related. They did need an extension because of where the property line was drawn for that use. They needed to go past that, and so they got.
413 is the one that did all the logs.
Clear.
Okay.
Cleared it out.
And did we ever find out if they got a permit?
It's not me, that's.
Can we find out if they ever got a logging permit? We spent a lot of money to have Eric redo our logging ordinance, and they cleared 6 acres out, and I wanna make sure that they got a permit for all that.
I think they got a letter, a notice regarding that.
Well,
So-
that's what we need to get
See,
Green Valley to
Terry-
follow up on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
send an email to Terry, asking if they ever got back to him, and
There's a stream at the bottom, and I didn't see any silt sock or silt fence there, which you're dumping silt right down into a stream. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that,
Which is why level spreaders don't work. One job like that'll fill it up.
okay.
Okay.
We're good.
Can we clarification? I'm so confused. It says 413 Swamp Road zoning hearing board decision. So what one is that and what date was that? Because you talked about two different things.
It was March 10th. And basically, this is just a formality. The board was given, out of courtesy, the results of what the zoning hearing board decided. So they approved.
Okay. Is there any way we can get the, when there's gonna be zoning board meetings, like, put on our website?
It is, yeah.
No, like what it is, before the time.
Yep.
Like 24 hours,
Everything's on the agenda.
24
yes.
hours, I mean, ahead of that, because I know there was one last week, I didn't know about it all.
It was placed on
Yeah.
Facebook and the.
Yeah,
website.
24 hours, but like results and things like that, because we did that overlay, I still don't see that information, is that on there as of last week, I didn't see
We're
it.
getting signatures and I have to mail it to the law library.
Okay.
But this is on the agenda so that everyone knows the results. And
No,
we'll
I mean, it'd just be
continue.
nice, public to know that, like, on your website, more than just the agenda. You know, we should be know what's going on, especially if it's a zoning issue. We should be, by law, you're doing what you have to do. But I think transparency-wise, I think we need to do a little bit more.
And we do, check the
Okay.
website.
Draft ordinance for
Excuse
review.
me? It is not there, so no, it's not.
Nuisance repeal and new weeds ordinance.
Right, last meeting, I kind of rewrote what we got from, Eric, and Eric rewrote it again, and I had said, 2 acres or less, and then he changed it to 2, I kind of read it the right way, but then I guess Sandy was
I
talking
read
to
it
Paul.
and
Yeah.
Paul, and
it
he
just
called
didn't
me
seem
up,
like it was right.
but
written.
it's exempt, see,
It's the
Okay.
exact, yeah,
whatever,
if you want
yeah,
2 acres or more.
I called Eric,
Yeah.
because,
Okay, as long as it's right.
this whole thing is this enough to clean that lot up across the street from the Exxon and right? That's what I'm pushing for to get that done. I don't wanna restrict other people, that's why I kinda thought, everything in town is 2 acres or less, so you can make it in, 2 acres or less, which this is right, you're saying, the only thing he changed, he made it, everything is exempt 2 acres or more, so nothing's gonna pretend, anyone that has 2 acres or more is gonna be 10. Now, the other thing was brought up was, do we make it 6 inches high or 8 inches high? And Joan and I was talking, earlier, and I said, if it gets 6 inches, until we get all the paperwork and send it to them, it's gonna be 8 inches high. All right, so I think we should just keep it at 6 inches myself,
I think
okay?
that's fair enough.
Is that fair enough?
Frank Payne, I guess he offered to continue to mow the center of town anyway, so we should be okay.
Thank you for doing that. All right.
Everybody should be grateful that Frank's been mowing that corner now for how many years?
People that just didn't mow their yards or anything.
I don't know how long I've been doing it, but I'll be glad to take cash or a check if you so inclined.
With his personal lawnmower, he's been mowing a lot of.
The old township building at one time. that was
I
pretty
can't
pretty
stand
cool.
looking at that place.
As long as we don't use it for going around inspecting yards and lengths of grass.
Make sure everything that's on this list, we can send a letter to get that lot cleaned up, right?
Right?
Can't we
Well,
just
it's gonna
call
be
that
coming-
woman
it's
and
gonna be-
say, hey?
Yeah, but this
Letters
is
have
coming
been
from
sent.
Terry.
Oh, it's
Because
gonna be
it's gonna be enforcement of,
Yeah, Terry's code enforcement.
he's gonna be enforcing that,
Okay.
code enforcement. So, yes, that's something
I
we just
think,
get
I
him
think
to
it's
send
good
out.
myself, so.
Well, we can always tweak it if we see there's issues with it,
Right, so if it starts getting this.
right? I say we just get it.
Yeah.
So now it's just a motion to authorize this for advertisement, so we can adopt it at your next meeting.
I make a motion, we advertise it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 188, park rules. Has this changed since the last time? Was it
Yes.
updated?
Yeah, so he updated, he added definitions of lewd and nudity. We wanted to make sure to tighten up, some ambiguities to make sure we can be challenged.
Has this been sent to Park and Rec? No,
Not since any
okay.
changes.
When do you guys meet next, Terry?
Then, end of the month, so,
Before the workshop?
Yeah,
yeah, the day before.
Okay.
Maybe get them to look at that and we'll talk about this at the.
Yeah, so how about we forward a copy of this to Park and Rec?
But we, I mean, she said, you had mentioned before, we have to have minutes in 24 hours before, that won't give me 24 hours to get it in, to be on the agenda again.
Oh, if you want this on the workshop agenda?
I think that's what he's asking for.
Oh, I see.
No, I'm saying,
No,
give it to them that they can
Yeah.
review it and then.
Put it on their meeting, they can review it and let us know if we have
Bring it back
anything
to the
that
next.
is.
Yeah, she's saying since we have to advertise the agenda.
Well, no, we can put it on our agenda saying we're gonna review the updates
Okay,
from
so
Park and
so
Rec.
then I can stick
That'll
the
be
notes
on
in the
there
next
already.
morning? Okay.
Yes,
All right. Well, then,
okay. Stormwater driveway non-compliance, 371 Swamp Road.
I've been to court twice, I still don't know anything.
Okay. Is there anything we need
Check
to
that to
do?
them yet?
Eric sent additional letters out, he's continuing to pursue both that and the next one for 83, Whistler.
Okay, so nothing is,
But, I mean, she was found guilty in local magistrate, so Judge Glass, she was found guilty.
And she was found guilty in front of Alcoa.
Okay, so where do we go from here?
Eric directs her within 14 days, it's,
12.
12, otherwise we'll pursue other additional filings, either in the Berks County Court of Common Pleas or additional citations issued against her.
Would have been cheaper to put a pipe across the driveway. She was the only one out of, what, 13 people that didn't do it?
That's what Judge Bacabella said when we were in court.
Follow up with it.
Okay, stormwater drainage updates, North Twin Valley Road drainage.
Oh, little forward motion on that this morning. I knocked on that door, got some contact information, spoke with both property owners, so we've at least got communication started with them. Verbally, they're interested in seeing some kind of drawing, to get us started.
Okay, so how do we get this going to get this started?
No, it's, before we put too much effort into getting it surveyed, I think we're just gonna put a drawing together of what the inlets are, the pipe location, where the water's going. and show that on an aerial, to see if they are still interested. If they are, then we'll, I don't know if we wanna wait to come back to the next meeting. It's probably the best thing to authorize, do a preliminary layout of this. This is also the same one that if we do move forward, the school has said they're interested in
75.
providing them,
Right.
yeah.
Was
The
it
number,
75?
so,
But the grant is no longer.
no.
No.
So is this
I
the house
see.
right at Climate Hill and Twin Valley?
Mhm.
That one in the corner?
Yeah.
Okay.
It kinda starts on the other side of the school, of where the piping would go.
Okay, so we should get moving on this since they offered their
Yeah, if
75.
they're receptive now.
Do you have any road work over in that area this year?
Well, that was, since we can't do Valley, we were moving towards Twin Valley.
But now if we got the okay to do this, then
You wanna wait until this is
Well,
clear?
try to push this through,
why don't you see what you can come up with?
and get this done.
We can talk about that at road inspection.
Shiloh, California road issue update.
Not really an update on that one.
Okay. Settlers Trail Detention Pond follow-up.
That was in Eric's court. I don't know where
It's
it's
just
at.
the general development itself.
No,
Discussion.
well,
Okay,
no.
That's one behind you.
This is the one we put the outflow structure on, and after we put that in, we were gonna take the next step with moving forward with getting some maintenance done by the property owner. And Eric was cleaning up some language that was in the recorded agreement with that.
Okay. So Thousand Oaks Bridge Inspection Report.
There was the inspector came here, met with Keith and I. Basically spoke about the fact that there's that work that needs to be done before the end of the month, really, maybe shorter than that. In that conversation, we kind of acknowledged that this pipe, whatever we do, is right on that water line pipe. So I reached out to the engineer from New Morgan Borough to say, we need to get in there, give us an answer, because whatever happens, it's right on the pipe. So if you need to provide us with materials or something to protect it, we gotta act quick. Sent that on Thursday, sent another follow-up email today, and haven't heard back from them, although they're just gonna get right back to me.
And what
So-
about their
How does
permits?
that not freeze if it's underneath that freeze like that?
It's attached to the bridge, so I don't know,
It's huge. 8-inch main.
So
And
do
we have
permits for that?
nothing in writing about that.
one of the discussions, and not to jump in, but was, it
Well,
seems
yeah,
like
but I mean,
that bridge was put in at the same time that industrial park went through the land development. So the idea was that that water line was probably to serve the industrial park, it probably went in at the same time as the bridge, so there may not be a permit for it, but it was probably constructed, like, together. The whole idea of that line being on the bridge was probably part of that. Not saying that it has all the proper permits it would need today if anything happened. If that.
now, is that the one that goes over to Morgan Way? Does that go through Thousand Oaks down to
Correct.
Morgan Way, and that's the one that tied into the big meter pit there right in front of Hillview?
Well, that one doesn't go all the way, there was an addition to the Thousand Oaks Morgan Way intersection, there's a junction
So
there.
where does it become ours?
It's not. It's theirs all the way to it's New
Well-
Morgan's all the way to that meter pit at Morgan Way in front of,
The Morgan,
Hillside.
the hillside meter pit is the.
But Thousand Oaks is ours.
Mhm.
So they have a water main going through our property.
We're now continuing the hillside.
So what
That's
do we
always
need
turned
from
off.
them? What permits do we need on file to protect us? Can we get a list of, if any, are needed?
I think we've sent those letters to them to request, and they were really unresponsive.
Well, I think we need to get Eric involved in that.
I mean, that's where the initial letters came from. That was back when we were trying to get, we have a permit in place to do work on that bridge if we need to right now. I actually think we have to act on that sooner than later, but it's a maintenance thing. But we kind of reached out to them and said, look, we need input on what you wanna do on this. We don't have any permits in place, and it was just unresponsive for 3 months of reminders to them, but I don't think it went further than that. I think if there was ever a replacement, then there's you need to permit this, you need to talk about maintenance. They need a separate permit to go across that stream anyway, which I'm assuming they don't have, but that probably wasn't required of them when this bridge was put in.
So what do we have to accomplish
Right now for the repair, we're trying to wait for them to get back to us. I think we're gonna have to ask the state to just give us an extension of time, so he's not right up against the deadline of the day it needs to get completed.
We're pretty much up against it now.
I think that, yeah, it's maybe about a 10-day period right now. I think he would say, look, it's not getting any worse, yeah, we'll give you, what do you need, 10 days, 15, 2 weeks or something to get
And
that.
that's the state.
And I
We
think
can't
we have
get
to,
them on New Morgan about,
I think we just have to tell New Morgan, here's the repair, if they don't respond this week, we just say, here's the repair we're doing, if you don't like it, then be out there with what we need.
basically put them on notice that we're not responsible for their pipe.
But what do we need to do to appease them by the end of the month? Redo
Just
the whole
fix
deck?
that. No, just to fix there was, a timber wall that caved in around that pipe, and the stone was coming out that made the road sound. That just needs to be repaired and reinforce that wall.
Coincidentally, that's right where the circle's cut and the pipe goes through.
Yeah.
That's where it failed.
Around
So it could be
the corner.
because their water line is just even taking place.
Yeah,
So can we put them on
That's-
notice and send them notice that we're not responsible for their pipe, no matter what repairs we make? And we move forward and do what we need to do,
Be-
and
the conversation I had with Eric, I think he said you should reach out to them, notify them, let them know what's going on, and I think the lack of response, now we have to kind of decide the proper wording, which I'll rely
Yeah,
upon.
Which way is that going? Is that back feeding? Which way is the water going? Is it coming from?
South.
Like if we were just cut the water line?
I was just gonna say, just,
Nice on the key.
Is it affecting any of our residents if we shut that water line down?
Residents, no, all the
No,
businesses in industrial, in that.
Well, why can't we shut it off if we're fed from our side? We can run it up to a valve. Is there a valve close to that bridge and we can shut that off?
There is, because there's a pump house there. My recommendation to you is to maybe entertain a quote from a contractor to make the repair. I don't know that you want to put us out, Public Works out in liability working around their water main. If it was the Carnarvon Township water main, we wouldn't do the work.
And the bridge either, you're not bridge experts, so.
Well, we thought we could temporarily seal that hole, whether it was just some cement, some flowable fill, something just to back it, but since I have to encase their pipe, I'm apprehensive to
well,
take
Yeah,
it
well,
away.
any
While we're waiting-
contractor's gonna want some sort of engineer seal or approval on how to fix that though.
we can
and
check.
To me, that should be the New Morgan Borough Water Authority. It's their water line, what they need to put around it, then
Cut the
that's
line.
not coming back to us.
Let's go tonight.
That's what, I mean, that's why we reached out to them. And that was again, kind of the follow-up that we're looking for an answer, so we don't have to get an extension.
Well, if we
We're
have a
also
paper
asking-
trail going to New Morgan, we can easily show that to the state saying, we've been trying to contact them about this, is their water line, correct?
Yeah,
And if their water line is damaging that, you can bill them then, right?
Well, I think we just keep following up here with legal and say, hey, listen, we're trying, it's not our water line.
Yeah.
I think if their water line caused it, we should share it. I mean, the bridge, let's face it.
Well, we
that's
already
not
know that we have to
A1
work
either.
on that bridge. That bridge
Right.
needs some help, but if the problem right now that we have to fix by the end of the month is that water line issue, we need to get in contact with them and get something done.
So
That's
while
really
they're trying
their
to-
issue, not ours.
While they're trying to get in contact with them, do we wanna get quotes from contractors to do this?
Wouldn't hurt, but the thing with it is, like I said, you're still gonna have to have some drawing for the contractor to know what he's gonna do.
And that's gonna have to come from a bridge
And an
engineer.
engineer is gonna have to say, okay,
Which to me,
you
there's.
can't just have an excavator come up there and say, fix this wall, because they're gonna say, hey, whoa, wait a minute. An engineer has to sit there and say, okay, you gotta put these timbers here,
Well,
this
that was-
compaction
Do you know
process.
a good engineer?
To that point, we reached out to the inspector and said, is it okay if the township's public works go in there and make the repair? Or is this a structural repair and you're gonna disapprove of what they do? He said, no, that's just a back wall,
No, he
let's
didn't
collapse
say
it and
that.
fix it. That's for the fix of
didn't
the
say
wall. That's for the fix of the wall, the pipe itself is where we worry about the liability if something happens to the pipe, and they point back and say it was your repair.
Can we fix the wall without screwing the water line?
No, it's side by side.
That's what he said.
So we can't fix the wall. So we can't even
So
really
we
get
need
a
a
quote.
You can fix it, but we don't wanna do a repair where they point back and say, our engineer didn't say do that. You did the repair, now you damaged the
Which
wall.
brings me back to what I said, you need an engineer to sit there
So why
and
don't
draw
we
it
get-
up so the contractor knows what he's bidding on, correct?
Well,
Or
let
have their
Patty take
engineer
care
out
of
there to
this
say what
tonight,
you're
right?
Well, you
I-
and I
No,
tonight are
just
gonna go
discuss
couple.
next week.
I think the approach here is to have their engineer provide the answer of how he thinks it should be repaired around that water line, and then it gets repaired either by Public Works or a contractor to do that.
Can you get a meeting set up between you and them?
he told me on Thursday he was gonna respond immediately. And here's Tuesday, the second email saying, hey, you didn't respond to me, we need that answer. And so I actually said, we need an answer and whatever materials supplied so that this can be completed.
Well, you've been dealing with Risbon lately,
Assuming.
correct, Keith? You've done a call, when you guys know what your game plan is, you give him a call, have him go down and give a quote. If it's too expensive, then we go out and shop around.
I've been dealing with Mark more than Don.
Yeah, Mark, you call Mark.
Okay.
Okay, so you're gonna work, very folks.
No, I think I'm gonna reach out and ask for that extension to see what he's going to do. I think since it hasn't gotten worse, he's gonna say, okay, what's a reasonable amount of time? I don't know.
Okay, so
2 weeks
request
to
the
try to see where we
extension,
get with it.
but still stay on, trying to get hold of them and
Yeah,
set up
yeah.
with the engineer.
2 weeks is almost about a.
But I think when
30-day
you have
period.
this meeting though, we have to address that bridge in general, the whole deck of that is bad, it has to be replaced. I mean, I know I mentioned something before about a box culvert in there, is that something we could approach New Morgan and have them split the cost on it, cause their water line's on it?
I think there is definitely a conversation we have to have with them on that. It's either there is a cost to be shared, or you can't be on the bridge anymore and you gotta go under the creek and.
Cause we've already agreed that we can't shut the
Separate
bridge
out
down
things.
because you need it for deliveries, correct? And for fire and EMS because of that printing place there.
Right.
I think a replacement of the bridge is a separate issue.
Well, yes, it is, but I'm saying if you got them on board with talking about this, it might be something to say, hey, we
Yeah.
have to fix this bridge because your water line's on it. You know, you're gonna have to fork out something here, you gotta take your water line off our bridge.
Yeah, to that point, I think we can look back to what Eric's original letter was, just to see what got left unanswered. But, all right,
We good? Alright, Morgantown sign installation update.
I made the one call, I just haven't gotten the sign up yet.
Okay. Fire police request for June 4th, 2022 Legion Bike Show.
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Ratify fire police request for April 10th, 2022 swap meet at Classic Auto Mall. Motion,
Second.
second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Mulch estimate.
There's an estimate in your packet for the playground wood carpet. Playground approved wood carpet, blown in installation. A lot of that stuff get expensive. It's $3,000 above what it was in 2021.
Is this all of the playgrounds or just the one?
Both of them.
Okay, and we didn't do this last year, right? So they're due. I don't know if we have much choice.
Should we budget for that?
I think there is something in Parks and Rec.
If not, we'll have to take some.
It wasn't to cover this price though. You had pretty high for mulch.
Well, it's a whole tractor trailer load and load in.
Yeah, they
They put it all right in there.
They
Yeah.
blow it in, so there's no. But it's two playgrounds, so.
So you get 50 yards at this one and 50 at the other. The requirement's 18 inches.
Is that the thickness of it?
That's what they want.
I'll make a motion, or
It needs to get done, so I'll make a motion.
a motion,
Second.
second, all those in favor? Aye.
It's gonna require a purchase order, where are we getting that from? Parks and Recs, I don't think has, in park maintenance is probably, I don't have in front with me my budget, 7,500.
We're chipping away at that.
We're chipping away at that.
The accrual fund does have a Parks and Rec line item, if you want us to use that, you can dip into the accrual.
Well, it's for Park and Rec, I mean, it's not like if they need money, we can transfer from the funds, right? Does it matter? Either way, it's gonna go as a line item from the accounting that was spent for Park and Rec.
So just use the Park and Rec line item, right?
Is that okay?
Park maintenance.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is.
Okay.
Complaint form received March 31st, 2022, meeting procedures.
Okay, there was reference to the, our overlay meeting we had, with several people that did not live in the area. They refused to say where they lived. I think we need to update our procedures that if somebody who does not live in our jurisdiction needs to at least provide their jurisdiction, I don't care about their address. We need it to be able to identify they don't live in our community. Also, with that, we should have priority as residents before they speak. And also, there was no reduction on how long they spoke. The people that did not live here spoke a very long time, and I thought the procedure you had was 3 to 5 minutes. So I just think as residents, we should have say before outsiders.
You know, the guy from Burke's Homes, he took 2 hours of our meeting a couple of months ago. Is that okay to do that?
Well, I
People
mean,
had questions and they were
yeah, I
trying to
mean,
answer them.
we have to determine when it's gonna be a huge thing.
Yeah.
You don't wanna really cut them off at a certain time, but that's up to the board to decide.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I
That
agree
just
with
made me-
Michelle when
she
it
just
comes to
made me
these
think.
policies, because state law says, it just says taxpayer. So it doesn't really clarify if it's school or property tax. And I feel that we should clarify that in ours to make it that you have to be a property tax owner in our community to have a say in it. Because
Well,
when
to
it
have a
comes,
say, I mean, so you don't
Well,
want anyone outside the township speaking.
okay,
at
Robinson
anything?
lived in Westchester. That complained about that airport is from Westchester, doesn't live
Yeah,
here.
no, I'm asking, so you're saying you
You have
don't
to
want
be a
anyone to be able to speak at the meetings here unless they're a resident in our township?
I feel that, yes.
I think a resident, he rented a business property, and I mean, he should at least identify where he lived and his relationship to the community.
Well, I saw him at church the next week, so I don't know.
Yeah, I
didn't
don't know.
him before.
I
Yeah.
mean, the whole thing is just, and that they blatantly refused to tell us what jurisdiction they lived in. I mean, I want to know if you're speaking, like, I'm assuming everybody in this room lives in my community. If not, I think as a taxpayer, I should know that, okay, you don't live here, you live in Westchester, you rent the airport property. So I can get an idea. Plus, the one that was, they had an attorney and 2 planners claim they live in Highcroft. I don't know who requested them. I mean, if they're gonna speak, then they need to identify who brought them here. And they spoke for most of that
Well, even-
meeting.
Even we went as far back as the casino. How many people spoke up that didn't even live in our community?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna
Yeah.
have this, I mean, do you wanna put something in place?
I think we
We're
need to
gonna
clarify
tell
it, so if
people-
it becomes an issue, we can sit there and say, hey, listen, because right now it's too open-ended.
Yeah, and I think they should be able to, we have to tell Joan our street address. They should at least identify what jurisdiction they live in. I don't care about their street address, but say, okay, you live in Westchester Borough, okay. And everybody else should talk first. If we have time, we'll talk. We'll let you talk.
Shouldn't everyone be signing in that's attending the meeting, even for safety purposes? You know,
It's not required, I
it's not,
mean,
oh, okay. All right, I didn't know.
yeah, just once you wanna speak, that way we have a list,
Oh,
and we can read down through that, and then normally, once that's done, then nobody speaks, because the meetings, we're supposed to be discussing stuff and not be
Yeah.
interrupted. But just like this,
yeah.
we don't stick, you know what I mean, we
Yeah.
try to stick to it so they go smoothly, we can get stuff done, and we can get out at a reasonable time.
Right.
But it's all work in progress.
Yeah.
It's constantly. Okay, so, I mean, we can kick stuff around and see what we come up with.
Thank you, Michelle.
And I'd like to say, I agree with you.
Mhm.
75%.
Mhm.
The reason I say that is, so what if they sold the farm across the street from Penwood?
Mhm.
And the first person that decided they wanted to build there was like a sex shop of some sort.
That's Lancaster County.
And that's in Lancaster County.
That's
Mhm.
Lancaster.
You have no say-so in that whatsoever. It's gonna be right out your front window.
That's when you talk to the board and ask to get put on the agenda.
So now you want say-so in their township.
Well, I was saying, I mean, that's the same thing. I mean, we have the same thing with the school board. Same thing. We have people from the outside, and basically, if you're not in our community, then you need to talk with the board and say, okay, can I get on there? But I mean, I'm not saying stop letting them talk. I'm saying I want them to be identified. I'm saying don't let outsiders talk, but they need to identify where they live and why they have a relationship, and they shouldn't have 75% of the time and taken off the whole whole conversation when they really
Yeah.
have not much of a say.
And I get
Jeff
that,
is saying,
but,
Yeah.
you know,
There,
You
I
sit
mean,
there
you don't
saying
wanna
that,
cut
but
your nose
half
off
the
to
time-
spite your
Oh, well,
face.
and we, same thing with school. I
half
mean,
the time you don't wanna sign in and you wanna talk and you're like, well, you don't have to follow. the
well,
rules.
and you just told me you didn't have to legally. You just said a few
No,
minutes ago.
she asked you
Yeah.
another question. If you want to.
Yeah, you said, but it's not,
Yeah,
not,
my name's
it's
on
not
there.
actually legally binding.
No, but I mean, you asked if we
Yeah.
should keep a list for safety purposes. I said you don't have to.
No.
Yeah.
But we want everyone to sign in that wants to speak.
And you just requested that everyone sign in.
I never said that. I said, when we speak, I think the whole thing up there, that's something, that's another story.
We'll think about that.
Yeah,
too.
I think personally, they need to identify where they live, and we need to limit how long somebody talks, especially in a meeting like that.
But
Okay.
everybody got a chance to talk. There wasn't anybody who didn't get a chance to
No
talk.
one got shut out.
No,
Yeah.
No.
We
and
all
there-
need to see the big picture too.
Right,
We
and that's
can't
why
turn a
nobody.
blind eye to something that might be an elephant in the room.
That's right.
I learn a lot. I actually learn a lot from those other people, whether right or wrong, whatever the solution is, but I learn a lot from what those other people said.
And that's what we're after, to
Yeah.
learn everything we can learn to make a proper decision.
Right.
But when they refuse to tell me that what jurisdiction it is, when I ask them, that's a problem.
Who are you?
And that,
though?
Who cares?
I'm a resident, I should know.
Zoning hearing board member appointment. Okay, so,
We received a notice from the zoning hearing board solicitor that one of the people that we appointed to it hasn't shown up, hasn't responded to anything, and they're kind of forced to keep using alternates. And, at this point, the ZHB at its last meeting voted to recommend that we remove the person from the position. Technically, since they've never shown up, and I don't think they even accepted like the first letter, where they were appointed, and we don't have an oath of office in hand from them, so it's not that we're removing them from office, it's they never accepted and took the office.
okay,
So, we have a draft resolution, Joan, prepped up to,
and Raymond's the next one in line. He's been an alternate and he's next to,
It's Raymond who
is not the one
was,
shown, okay,
who
so
got
Yeah.
appointed
Okay, so-
recently, so now,
Billman.
he's
yeah,
next in line.
Billman, yes.
Okay, and we go by seniority, how long they've been waiting as an alternate?
Mhm.
Okay,
I'll make a
Then I'll-
motion for resolution 2022-35.
we have a motion, second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Administrator took,
You'll take care of, okay, letting them know.
administrator's report, intern update.
Let's see, we'll be getting our third intern, it's just each semester, they're done, we get another, and it's working out well. They've really been a big help for projects, and so, we have another person coming in. I told him if he can start tomorrow, but I think they have a break or something because of Easter. His name is, I think it's Ray? Oh, I can't remember now, but I met him last week, he signed the paperwork, I think it's Ryan. Anyway, he did some work for me, and I think it'll work out well. So, I just wanted to inform the board, and then make it official as of tomorrow.
All right, carnival update.
Okay, so I've been receiving some more contracts for entertainers. I didn't get a chance to print them out, but I have them. There's no money required for a deposit. We pay closer to the event when it takes place. So I have Jeff Crick, who is my Elvis impersonator. He is doing a duet with his son, the price of $2,000. And I have an 80s band with a female lead singer for $2,000. And I also have another band for $600 for the Tuesday night. So total for all the bands, Tuesday through Saturday night, is $10,600. My sound guy is $2,500, which brings me to $13,100. Fireworks are $8,500, which right now gets us to $21,600. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of money, but a lot of these costs are covered by businesses. We just haven't gotten that far yet. We usually get businesses to cover each entertainment every night of the week. One of the other things that we did was we called and got prices for, tent, tables and chairs, which we do every year. That is a total of $700. So I wanna make you guys aware of this stuff. Right now, I have my entertainment schedule filled, and as long as you guys are okay with that, I'm gonna start advertising it, because I wanna start getting it out there, the entertainment, on social media and wherever we advertise.
Okay, and then the tons of fun contract fee, it's time for him to get his license in, I don't think he
He'll
keeps
have
it.
He'll have it.
Okay, so we need to start on
The
that.
season
and
just started, so he
Right,
just
that's
had
what I'm
his first
saying,
one,
he usually
so.
lets it lapse, and then he restarts it,
No, he'll get
So-
all that stuff to me.
insurance certificate and the license.
And you sent out the contract for the fireworks, correct? As soon as that gets out, they're gonna get their proper insurances and get that all to me as well too, so.
Okay, anything else? All right, maintenance department, monthly report. Anything to add to that?
I don't have anything.
Morgantown Road / Shiloh guardrail update. Has it been fixed?
Well,
Or is it
We're
down
waiting
again?
for the next
Okay.
replacement.
I reached out to PennDOT as far as if we were to post signs on their roadway in advance of this. Depending on what it is, if it was a truck study, they said, yeah, we might entertain it, put a posting up for about 5-6 months, and if there's no issues, then we don't need to post one. If there is, okay, then you can post in the right of way. They're trying to be stingy about what you put in the right of way. If it's another type of sign, I think it's reviewed on a case-by-case basis. So if it didn't come to a traffic or a truck restriction study and there was other signs we kind of look into that they can put up there, I think they would be open to it, but it just seems like they're trying to nitpick what we put up.
Well, haven't we done this in the past? Can't we send a letter out to the people burner, whatever you wanna call it, the hospital waste burner?
Bridgeview.
This had enough, the last time, they're rare that it's even that. That's
The
nothing.
two trucks that we
Where they
saw
going?
were trucks for that, for that.
The last one that we had last month, the gentleman got off the turnpike because he thought he had to get off, and he was trying to get back onto the turnpike, so that's how his GPS took him, because he was actually gonna go on the parts on the mine view.
He wouldn't have made any of it.
Yeah.
But we can all agree though, that majority of the time it's hit, it's Bridgeview's trucks that are hitting when they go
No, actually,
down.
no,
You don't think?
no.
Well, that night we were out there when the guardrail got wedged under the axle, that was a Bridgeview truck.
That night, but most of the other ones.
Most of
were-
them
Yeah,
are just
they had
out
the
of
door.
town people that get confused, via GPS and stuff like that.
Well, hey, it's not our guardrail, so why are we worried about it?
Well, they put it up the next day, it's down,
Well,
so.
if someone goes down over there, they're
It's
gonna
a
have an
state
issue.
problem.
Right.
No, I'm talking about the safety for the
I
person who
mean,
does it.
it's not,
Well, he shouldn't have took an 18-wheeler down the road.
we are not officially paying as township residents out of our coffers, we're paying through.
No, but if Patty
Sure.
cuts that pipe and she's racing
That's
home
right.
and she goes over that
On
line,
my way
it's
home,
not
I'm gonna
there.
take care of that
But
problem.
the- But I mean, usually PennDOT does go after the offender when we do locate them, and stuff like that. It's just an inconvenience when it happens, like the last time.
Well, it's
The truck got
dangerous,
stuck there, we had to wait for the heavy wreckers and.
because sometimes that guardrail, that's sticking out. I mean, it's nothing for two cars to go by there, and I'm worried about scraping the car when I'm going
Well,
in through there.
the LTAP, report, they basically said there's nothing really that we can do because of
Right.
the incline
That
there.
same response they gave was, you should reach out to PennDOT to see what their comments are. The truck studies say the same thing, so that's what I was trying to talk to the signing and traffic studies manager. And he said, well, we'll have to review those signs on a case to case, and then when I asked about the delineators on the guide rail, well, that's not my department, that's construction, so we got a half answer from them, which to be honest, I think that's enough to say, let's evaluate what we think will work, and then we can kind of contact them if needed, but, yeah, I think there's been a lot of
Have XTL
half
finish the
answers,
freaking job, man.
but it just hasn't, yeah.
What we knew XTL was gonna have an issue with that, that's what, I mean, we were out
They
there.
said,
That's
they
it.
said that wouldn't be a problem with their trucks.
Yeah, well, they don't wanna spend the money to take the road where it's supposed to go.
It's like a problem.
Well, that's a whole other issue.
Well, yeah.
SEO report. Library. You have your monthly
Is that,
report.
the library all taken care of now?
Which part?
Well, the emails that she sent out about taking care of stuff because the husband's a professional, whatever the heck it was.
I didn't respond to them, I was kinda waiting for road inspection, maybe to visit that, or you on a rainy day.
Okay,
There's a lot of confusion coming from over there.
okay.
And the smoke detector alarm system number 2 was just the first.
Okay, do we need to discuss that, or?
I don't think so, other than the fact that they installed their own alarm system in the building.
Okay.
And then they called here and wanted us to maintain it, and
Well, they can maintain it, they purchased
if you
it.
put it in, it's kinda up to you.
Yeah,
It's just bringing that before you guys, since the building's technically yours, so.
I was gonna say that building's ours.
it's ours, but they're the ones that up and
Well,
installed
did
this.
they say anything that they were putting this into our building?
I've never heard of it, wasn't in any reports that I've seen.
So why would they do that?
There was a whole list here last fall. There was they brought a whole list.
I didn't see.
I don't remember when, but that wasn't on there.
Yeah, the list we had, I mean,
That was
outside.
cleaning up the bushes,
Yes.
putting mulch,
Right,
making a sitting
Changing the
area,
bathroom,
changing
putting
the
the baby thing
bathroom.
in, yeah,
There was
so
a
it's
list,
not
and
there.
that was not on there.
Okay.
I don't know when it was done, all I know is when she asked me to come over and start changing batteries, I inquired whose system it was, cause I didn't know anything about it. And if she has a contract and it's monitored, which it says it's monitored when you Google the company,
Then they need to take care of it.
then they need a maintenance contract for their system in the building.
So they're paying for for a fire alarm system in a building we own.
Yeah.
That's what, the way I understand it.
Well, they probably got a grant or something.
Anything else?
I'm not up for paying for an alarm system that they put in.
No, but I was thinking since we're gonna redo stuff here, if it's our building, we should be responsible for doing it there too, but they've already done it.
So what do? We just put a heater in there?
Two,
Two
we
heaters?
replace both
Yeah, I mean,
HVAC
we
systems.
maintain it.
Okay.
Not yet.
I think you are.
Tax,
Yeah.
tax collector report. Police department?
The monthly report before you is a lot of activities. One of our big problems that we've been dealing with is at the high school and middle school with bullying and sexting. And we are currently working with the Berks County District Attorney's Office and the juvenile probation. Next month, we will actually be doing a presentation to both schools for the student body on this issue that we're dealing with over there. Several other arrests. We did have at the end of the month, a indecent exposure issue. We just recently been able to identify the person. That arrest is pending. Also, you probably saw where we had 2 other arrests that go back over 2 years based on DNA for incident at the Holiday Inn and one down in the industrial park as a result of Detective Everly recovering some DNA, and we've been able to get a match on some stuff. So we continue, officers are continuing their training through MOPAC and some of the other in-class. We continue those activities. We continue to monitor the school bus issues and aggressively target those vehicles. We've actually probably last month just did about 5 violations on that, so we'll constantly go on that, trying to deal with that.
Do they still have a security guard in the school?
Yes, they do.
Okay, cause the last guy that was there, I guess he left and they get somebody else?
They got a guy in the beginning of the school year, and he's excellent. He's
Okay.
actually a former Lower Marion officer, and he's on his toes
Okay.
from morning, noon, and night. He's all over the place.
How's the casino?
Casino gives us some activities, some on the inside, and you probably will see there was an incident out front, and the gentleman showed up at 10 o'clock in the morning, intoxicated. They would not allow him in. They stopped him going through the doors, which meant that is our issue. When we interacted with him, he became aggressive and tried to assault one of the officers, and a few of us got knocked down to the ground. So, yes, I got knocked down, so, but we we've had a couple arrests there, that's probably the biggest one. Other than that, inside, it's pretty quiet, not going away.
Well, the nursing home is going there tomorrow. I work at Country Meadows now, and they're taking them there tomorrow at 1 o'clock, so I hope nothing goes on.
No, I hope not to. If I see you there, I'll stop and say
No, I'm
hi.
not going with them.
Oh.
I work in.
But no, I mean, it's not that bad. The biggest problem is response for the state police. They are short-handed. And the one incident, the one day during the day, we had to wait for a trooper, and he responded to emergency speed from Rusker Manor Township.
Well, that's not good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not what they
You know,
promised.
Not change subject, but you were part of the engineering when the casino was going in, correct?
Mhm.
Did they not take into consideration they needed dumpsters?
I don't know.
There's no dumpster pads there. They've been using a 30-yard dumpster for their trash.
I
They think
have
they
to go
didn't,
back and
I
look.
guess they didn't think they needed trash. I found that out from the landfill. Yeah.
I don't know, yeah, I do not know how to handle that, to look at it.
Okay, desktop computer, quote for approval.
That's for the additional workstation in the squad room that we needed.
Okay,
And that would come out of the rescue funds also.
motion to approve that,
I'll make a motion.
Second.
motion and a second, all those in favor? Morgantown Interchange Toll Plaza, says 10, stop ahead, 6, sign update?
Checked with the Todd, the vice, he's not gotten back. I know it was on their schedule for those signs to be placed. I check it every day, and I've not seen them. I will try and reach back out to them, see if we get an additional update from them for those stop ahead signs.
Update no parking ordinance.
You have before you a list. I met with Keith. I think this is something we could talk about at the road inspection if you want, but this is looking at ordinance 300. A lot of these streets, which are already posted, are not under the ordinance. So we kinda need to update ordinance 300, add these, couples descriptions we kinda need to get a little bit tighter. Was, trying to figure out, if you look at like, Morgan Spring Drive's going up and around. Well, what side do you say? Because as it goes up, it's the east, then you got the north, and then you got the west as it wraps around.
We put this on the agenda for the road inspection, maybe review some of these, or is this something Keith can go through?
I went through it with Paul.
Okay,
We went
I
through
worked
so-
on this together, yeah.
Did you clarify some language as to what, I guess Eric would wanted the ordinance as to, like Morgan Spring Drive, how do we describe that? Because it has, as it goes up and
Three
around,
different locations.
it has three different, like, normally in the ordinance, we say the north side, the south side. In this case here, it has three sides as it goes around, because as it goes up, you got the east side, when it's up at the very top, you got the north side, and then when you come back down, it's the west side.
The
So you
entire,
have to name it from the road you're coming in from.
We
the
did
entire Penwood subdivision is only parking on the sidewalk side.
So I
There's
don't
only
know if that's
sidewalk on
something we
one side,
can
so
change it to say
Can we do that there?
parking on the sidewalk side.
that's where he's
as
at,
a
yeah,
description,
in Penwood.
instead of saying the north side.
I'll look at it with Eric.
Well, honest to God, people aren't gonna know they're asking for the hole in the ground when it comes to north, south, east, west.
Right.
I mean, I'm being honest there. I mean, seriously. I mean, my wife doesn't know right from left, so I can imagine you say north, she's gonna be like,
For the sidewalk.
Well, we sat down and went through,
That's okay.
we went through the township ordinance.
I'm being honest. Try telling my wife.
All right,
"No,
so-
loser."
So what do you want?
I like the sidewalk idea.
Sidewalk.
That makes it
side,
real
yeah.
simple.
It does. I mean, it's like pretty
As long
much
as all
anybody
have
can
sidewalks.
see it.
I can
It's
clean
on
this
the
back
sidewalk
up,
side.
I can clean this back up for,
Okay,
Awesome.
all right, care, custody, and control of prisoners policy.
this is another policy that we have been working on, with Eric. So this needs to be approved, changed and made some tweaks based on some changes. One of the things that we don't have a prisoner van, so we gotta take that out of the policy and a couple other tweaks. So this is ready to be approved and then it could be distributed.
And you're saying Eric already reviewed this and approved it?
I make a motion to accept it.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Zoning code enforcement officer, monthly report. Valley Ponds Basin update.
I did talk to Terry after the last meeting, just to say on that, whoever the contractor was doing that work, the one that was on the back side of the, red roof, the pond that they had there, they did actually go in and clear some of the brush that was in the swale as well as in the pond. In his opinion, I mean, it more matches what the approved plan was, but now you might have more of an issue of how fast the water can get out of there technically, which may not add to the other side of the pond problem, but, there were also some improvements done to the backside of the distributor.
Well, he was
They
supposed to,
purchased
he was
that
supposed to
company.
mow that when he bought it, correct?
And he did.
He did, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think he said they have really followed up there, that a lot of what was requested in his notices has been done. More than that, I can't say, but that's what he did say, they have each notice out there, they have done the work, but doesn't necessarily know if
Well,
that.
the owner of the red carpet hasn't been in here, so I guess it must.
Apparently it's
problems.
good.
Yeah.
Well, do we
Doubt
wanna
she
She don't have a
but-
problem
Send-
coming in.
Her
Can we,
a letter, just letting her know the work was done, and
I think that would be the right thing to do, send her a letter.
just let her know that the work's been done, and we'll leave it at that until she comes in and says
Yeah.
something else.
If there's
You
an
know,
issue, just tell her to
issue.
follow back up with us.
Morgantown Garage parking lot update.
Where Terry's,
Yeah, he was looking at that one, I don't know where that stands, but.
EMS. Fire department. Parks and Rec. Have your minutes.
I saw you sent a response to some of the,
Yes.
that's great.
So whenever you're done with those, take those off, can you
Yep.
just resave it and then just add to it?
Yep.
And that way we only have one list to go off of each month. And
Okay,
it should keep it cleaner instead of us looking for January's, February's.
that works for us.
I know Keith, you've been taking care of a lot of that stuff on there
Yeah, he
too,
did.
so thank you for that.
Yeah, so what I'll try, after the meeting, I'll send it to Joan and Keith, get their responses, and I'll just
I
do a response.
have more and more information and more responses to some of that stuff. So I'm forwarding it to them because we're rapidly going $100,000 here and just different, and there's just maintenance that needs to be done. And I have prices from stuff that I got back in 2020 that wasn't funded then, so.
Well, I mean, along the lines of that, I met with the lady from Time Ed, okay? I know I talked to a couple people, I don't know who I talked to, but while we're here though, Time Ed really wants to get more involved in the community. So when I met with this Kimberly girl, she was gonna talk to her higher ups and find out what she could do. She wants to get involved in the Parks and Rec. I mentioned to her that there's numerous things that she could contribute toward. I mean, I mentioned, we talked about a pavilion, but I also said that we have 2 tot lots or 2 playgrounds that could use some updating, some work with under drains and stuff in it. So there's plenty of stuff that could be done that we could actually do and put a plaque on and say, you know, donated by Time Ed. I'm waiting to hear back to see exactly what they wanna do and how they wanna approach and what kind of money they're talking about. But, they are aware that there's stuff, I told them about the Clyde Smith field, that, you know, the bleachers, you told me about the bleachers and stuff, and, you know, to the announcers booths and whatnot.
That's my question to you. We're dabbling in some of the stuff from the inspection list and some of the stuff that's gonna be major repairs. I'm gonna forward that off to the board and I guess to Parks and Rec, but who's gonna keep that tally and list of work, because come next budget cycle, it's still gonna be there looming. I don't want, I'm trying to say is I don't want to get
know we talked
forgotten.
about before, you know, we are gonna start seeing some increase in revenue from the casino. And I mean, I don't think it wouldn't be a bad idea if we get some extra money and we have it, we can say, okay, maybe let's do this now with some of that money. I mean, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but we definitely have a list a mile long of stuff that could be fixed, updated, gone over, redone, I mean, you name it.
I
I mean,
get
I
this
just
for
think-
you all the time, I
I
just,
know that Keith Fritz has brought up about, prioritizing, I mean, I don't know if it's, I think we all kinda gotta get on board there and decide what's gonna be a priority. I mean, I don't think we can really
Right, I
point
mean-
that all out to Park and Rec.
Right,
think
this
we
is
should
our
all
first
kinda
year
say-
getting any money that we're gonna be getting money in, so.
it's not the work, it's the list so that you have it to reference come the next budget cycle, that these projects you.
No, right, I think some of that
Take
stuff
So
though over
we
there.
almost need a budget list, ongoing, constant budget list that gets updated, like the other response list I just said about just saving and sending back and forth.
Hmm.
So we should have a budget list for 2023 started, now already.
I reached out to Ryan Roach about, I have some ideas on building a bullpen and pitching area, batting cages over there, and addressing the stormwater all at the same time, but it needs to be transferred into a plan that contractors could work from, or we can work in steps at making some of those improvements.
And what are they willing to do too? That's one of the things we need to find out.
Well, we kinda gotta get the project into something that we can work
Well,
with.
no, I get that, but I also know that Twin Valley Legion Ball dumped a lot of money into the fields up at the school before they were told that they
Correct.
couldn't do that. We own the field, but we lease it out to MAA, Twin Valley, I mean, so if they're gonna use it, I think that they should be doing some of this stuff, cause they're the ones that want the bullpens, they're the ones that want the batting cages. They put that Dynatex in, they're the ones that increased the amount of water dumping down onto the carnival grounds now.
Well,
So that's the
And-
kind of stuff that they should have to address some of that.
and that's what I'm saying, if we can get a plan, we can turn it into several steps. If they wanna get the concrete poured, maybe the Public Works can haul the fill and get the fill in and do that with the machinery. If sometime it wants to buy the nets for the cages or pay for moving some fence around, that's kind of what I'm trying to get Ryan to be able to bust that into individual projects.
Yeah, I know he said he was gonna go to Lowe's and see what they would donate toward that, I think, too.
Well, I just talked to him today and we're gonna meet next week, so.
Yeah, see what you guys come up with.
We did prioritize, we did in section E of the request list, we did try to attempt to prioritize, whether that's the priority that you guys wanna use, but we did, in the meeting, attempt to try to prioritize some of the stuff.
Well, I think that's great, I just think that we all kind of need to be a
Yeah,
part of
agreed.
that, because what you think is priority, we might not think is priority, he
Exactly.
might not think is priority, so we need to come up with a happy medium.
Agreed. He's already done some of the things on here.
Yeah, I know he did.
So then, do we wanna recommend the Park and Rec to start what they think should be on the budget for 2023? Is that what,
I would.
and that way, we can all come together into a central place, and then we'll make up one budget list for 2023.
See, it was as simple as me going over and telling you that I've tried different ways to repair the bleachers.
Right.
I can't come up with one.
Right,
So, a ballpark figure just to put aluminum bleachers to replace that is 12 to 15,000, and that's not tearing the old down or doing any structure work or pouring a concrete pad to anchor them to. That to me is something we just put on the list that this is, in 2025, we got a donor, we got, there's a project. I don't know, I just don't want it to go away or somebody say I didn't do it because
right.
we did get some information, it was just the lack of funding that prohibited from happening when we first secured the information.
Yeah, we had only put that, we had only mentioned that because we thought that it was somewhat of a safety issue because they're coming out.
It is, but I bought screws and every length I can and I can't, there's no material underneath it.
Anybody else have anything to add to that?
No,
Okay.
I'm working on bleachers, but I don't know what's gonna happen there, so.
Okay. Easter Bunny costume quotes.
We actually ordered that because it's within the $500 that you gave us for the event, so we already have, we've already ordered it, it was $164 and some odd cents.
Were you the Easter Bunny?
I'm not. It was $164.45.
Okay. Anything else? Planning Commission minutes, water sewer reports. Engineers report.
Well, we're not talking about the water sewer. Scott, who do we talk to about, the heritage tying into the the casino's sanitary.
I mean, I can reach out to Eric Kraken there, because he's really the contact for.
That's
I
dedicated
don't know
line
where-
now, there's no reason I should have sewer running across Route 10.
It's
I ride
dedicated.
motorcycle, and I don't wanna be riding through poop water as I'm going down Route 10.
You know, them and the hotel are working together to try and get,
Well,
hook it up at the same time.
I just wanna follow up with that and make sure that we get that taken care of, because the line's dedicated now, there's no reason they
They
shouldn't
did
tie
get it
in.
dedicated up too.
It's supposedly dedicated.
Ford told me that he's working on getting all the proper permits in place to make that connection happen. It's okay, he's just gotta get all the paperwork through the state and, you know, to go under 10 and all that
It's
stuff.
already in front of his house, there's a manhole in his private
He
property.
said he's gotta get all the proper paperwork from the state. I don't know what he meant by that, I didn't ask
Well, when
him.
Gentili's owned it, he was pumping his tank out twice a week to keep up on it. Ford doesn't do that, so it overflows across Route 10, right at the main entrance of the casino.
Yeah,
But you're saying he's working on
that's what he told me.
I can at least clarify with
it? Okay,
him just to see where it stands as far as the dedicated line. But,
okay. And engineer's report?
I just had some updates on, I mean, the engineer's report, you have that, but the updates I want, we didn't touch on here is really stormwater issues. It was over a month ago that I issued a letter to 2 Hidden Court that had the pond that just wasn't draining, almost overflowed, we had that picture of it. I didn't get a response, I don't know, Joan, if they would've reached out to you separate. Do we wanna send them another notice? I know we, and actually cite it, I mean. they're
How much more
responsible
can
for
you,
that pond.
you've talked to him numerous times, right?
Correct.
I mean, you go out to them and you say, hey, listen, all you gotta do is before a major rain event that you might see forecasted, go out and make sure that the hole's opened up. I mean, that's
I mean, it was 2 years ago.
pretty much all you gotta do, right?
He actually cut the pipe where it would try to flow a little better for them to try to help that.
I
When
did.
remember.
I did.
So we're moving to the next step.
So what if we send them a certified letter stating whatever exactly it is we want?
If we wanna move forward.
We
with
have to
that.
keep up on it, because if that overflows, then we're flooding out people on 82.
I mean, it gives them another 30 days to respond, but this is an actual notice.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about it again.
Well, great, that way we have notice in
I mean,
writing.
it's in his deed that he's responsible for that, correct?
Yeah, I think
Are you-
it's, there's 2 ponds and both of them say that.
While Scott is sending that, I would encourage you to send it up to 88 Carnarvon Drive.
Yeah, it's in the same development, so go
It's the
ahead.
same, well, there's another one on the old portion of Carnarvon Drive that's gonna need some maintenance too.
On the backside.
On the backside, yeah.
Well, we definitely gotta keep up on that, because that goes down in the Orr's property, right? Is that what you're
Yes,
talking about?
the one at 88 goes to Doors property, and then there's another one on the old part of Carnarvon Drive. There's another one where Ed Johns used to live, that the outflow structure of the pipe's only 50% open. So while we're sending to that neighborhood, let's get all 3 of them on Carnarvon. And
So no reason that should have an HOA.
don't make,
Can you give him all the addresses?
Okay, so I'll do that with those 3. Morgan Court driveway, there was an issue with that silting up and repeatedly notifying them, nothing happened. Kinda sent after Keith sent an email to them, I sent another one, they actually did respond. Somebody new that hasn't been aware of this, it seems like the responsibility switched to somebody else and no one had any idea what these past complaints were. They said, we'll look into it, let's have a site meeting and address it. I mean, I guess we.
This is
Give
the
me
same
the
issue
person.
there in Corey.
Well, this is just the driveway with the silting and trying to get that to the 2 swales, it's not
They-
the overall.
well, yes. They fixed the upstream part that was flooding the road. Now it was down at the driveway, and they had brought their machine over and cleaned the silt out off the macadam, but it's still this high where it can't flow off of that.
But doesn't our ordinance say you have to blacktop so far off the road?
It is blacktop, but
Yeah.
the water's coming down the gravel part of the driveway, and then sediment builds up.
They kinda have a
Clog
swale.
our
And
inlets.
that, and then it clogs their entrance, so that water can't sheet or flow the way it's
They
supposed
really
to.
need to cut the grass on both sides of the driveway to get it to the swales.
So you're gonna meet with them?
Yes,
Whatever you think.
yeah, I think they can make it work.
Is that all you have?
And one more, 160 Willow Glen, they didn't officially file a complaint, but they have an inlet right next to their driveway they admitted that when they moved in probably 15 years ago, they paved around it. It is failing, it's not necessarily an inlet, it was cast in place, it is kind of collapsing. I talked to Eric about it, there's really no old plans that show anything. Basically, he said, yes, the township is in the right of way, should make that repair. I let them know that if you paved around this, you created an extra cost for the township. You shouldn't have, you didn't get the permits. I would recommend you don't park on that area that you created until this is resolved, because they keep saying, it's a liability for a car, for us to be there. It really wasn't until they paved it when they didn't get their permit.
Where's
So
that, goods?
Kind of an unofficial, we'll look into this. I'm
Across
putting-
from Joe Walters.
In case this gets brought up, the pipe that goes across, it kind of goes right next to the foundation of a garage, and then it dumps to the back of that property, and kind of runs down to Morgan Court eventually, I believe. I mean, the pipe is literally on the almost part of the foundation, but they're not complaining, it's the other side, and after talking with Eric, he said, look, it should be repaired by the township. It's just gonna get returned that way from the court if it ever went that way, so we should repair it. I let them know, just don't create the liability when parking until it is. They have a driveway, this is just an additional space, so until it really gets put on a maintenance list here and they can repair it, that's kind of where we're at. I just wanted to bring that in case the resident
Can we,
comes back.
swing by and hit that at road inspection, take a look at that?
Sure.
Like I said, just make me aware, I'm done.
Solicitor.
Eric submitted his written report, nothing else.
Okay, so we don't, do we need the executive for anything? No? Okay.
I have one thing for the good of the order here. The tree that fell in Penwood on the lady, I wanna say 39 Morgan Springs Drive, you awarded David E. Spar the contract to remove the dead trees. He reached out yesterday, he intends to be here tomorrow to do that phase of the job. I just wanted you to be aware that it was, seemed like it was taking a while, but
Personnel updates?
That notice will be being served, waiting on a letter to come back. And I'll have Sandy as the chairperson sign, that's okay. And that will be delivered.
Okay, and then, do you have a carnival update for the building, for what was requested by MABA, or do you wanna discuss stuff first before we bring it?
I'd like to discuss it first, figure out how we're gonna do it.
Okay.
But if you want, wherever that contact is there a contact email there?
No. No, I was just at the, bank, and she asked me if they could donate something.
Yes.
Okay.
You hear that, Terry?
No.
I didn't know if you wanted her to
I'll
know.
tell her,
Okay.
no, MABA wants to do something in memory of your mom, and by putting a plaque somewhere, maybe over at the carnival grounds, so I figured we could talk about that and see what you think, and maybe get some input from you, what you think might be a good idea. I say we put the plaque in the center of town on freaking Oddfellows building right there, in the back place. We'll talk about it.
Did you wanna talk, personnel items we talked about this morning?
Is that
Which way?
executive? Is that,
I mean, if you wanted, we can talk about it briefly, I mean, the denial.
Yeah.
If we won, I mean, yeah,
Well, let's
I
do
think
it.
we wait for Eric.
okay. Alright.
Jeff? Steve?